Hey there guys, I'm back to another video. Today I'm here showcasing my Blu-ray collection. So the Blu-ray collection is split between me and my brother, but for the most part, it's me, I would say. There's a lot of titles in here, such as the TV shows and anime that's strictly mine, but a lot of the movies we kind of share in our collection. So I'm just gonna show everything. This video is gonna be split into different sections, so I'll have timestamps for those sections in the description. So first we're going to tackle the movies, then we'll tackle something like Marvel movies, DC movies, Disney movies, TV shows, anime, etc. So I'm not exactly sure what order I'm going to go in because I literally have everything behind me and I'll just start picking stuff away after I get through the actual movie. So this video is going to be long. Strap in. So let's get into the first movie, which is 500 Days of Summer. This is I believe a romance comedy kind of movie. It's been a couple of years since I've watched it. My brother loves this movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Zoe Deschanel, they are great. They have wonderful chemistry. I really liked it when I first watched it, like probably 5 years ago now. But this is definitely a worthwhile watch, especially if you're a sort of person that does like romance comedy movies, such as myself. So I definitely have to rewatch this sometime soon. So, whoops. So there is that. Next one we got here is 12 Years a Slave. A lot of these movies, me and my brother bought at like a used sort of video store. So this is one of them. We bought it because it was cheap and it's pretty good, apparently. I mean, it's a Academy Award-winning Best Picture. So we haven't watched it yet, but one of these days I will definitely sit down and take a look at this one. 21 and 22 Jump Street. I just hear that these are funny movies. I think my brother bought this at like Best Buy or something. So there's that. Apologies if I don't have much to say about some of these movies. Like I said, if I haven't watched it, I'm not gonna, sort of bullshit for like a minute or two. 50/50. This is a movie that I remember watching on Netflix when they did like DVD rentals. So like we rented this on DVD and me and my brother watched it, I believe either together or separately. And yeah, this is pretty good. I think that for what it is, it's pretty much about this guy who has cancer and he has a 50/50 chance to live. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's funny. It's very heartwarming. You sort of get to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character sort of, take on this sort of task of being diagnosed with cancer. And yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's heartfelt, as it says on the back of the box. But yeah, definitely a movie that I remember fondly watching, and then when we got this Blu-ray, I rewatched it, and it was still a lot of fun. Oh god. Next one we got here is A Christmas Story. So I remember watching this in school. I think it was like 4th or 5th grade. This was my first ever time watching it, and it was pretty good. I mean, when it comes to Christmas movies, I really like Home Alone, which I'll talk about later. But this is one of the sort of like well-known Christmas movies that I didn't watch until that point, and when I watched it in school, I liked it. Sort of like don't poke your eye out with the sort of like BB gun and things like that. I don't remember it obviously because I'm like 23 now, so watching a movie from sort of elementary school, I'm not gonna remember it clearly, but I bought it on Blu-ray because it was cheap, and one of these days when the holidays come around again, I will definitely sit down and watch this, hopefully. Next one we got here is A Quiet Place. So I remember going to the theaters a lot when like Movie Pass was a thing, and then eventually switching over to AMC A-List. So when I had Movie Pass, this trailer would show all the goddamn time, and I was kind of annoyed by it, and I was like, this movie better be good. Like the amount of times I've seen this trailer, and the premise is kind of interesting because most of the movie is silence because of how the sort of like creatures in this movie work. It's pretty much like these creatures, once they hear something, they will kill it. So that's why it's called A Quiet Place, because you kind of have to be quiet within this new post-apocalyptic world. And you see Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's characters sort of go through this world with their 2 children. And it's fun. It's interesting. It's scary, obviously, because this is a horror movie. But watching this in theaters with other people and everyone literally has to be quiet because the movie is so dead quiet because of it, it was a lot of fun. And when I saw part 2, when sort of like theaters were opening up again and I was more comfortable going to theaters. Part two, it's good, but I think that part one, like it definitely, because of what this movie did, part two sort of had a lot to sort of live up to, and part two was good, but it didn't live up to, I guess, past what part one sort of accomplished. So definitely watch A Quiet Place if you haven't already, especially if you like horror movies, because this is one that you do not want to miss. Next movie we got here is A Star Is Born. So I had no idea what I was going into. When I saw this movie, I was like, oh, look, Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper. I didn't know that this was a remake of a movie that was made years ago. So I was just like, oh, okay, like, let me see what this is about. And it's good. I mean, this is a movie where a star is born, I guess. I'm not entirely sure how to really describe it. There's drama, there's sort of romance, like I think it's based on a true story actually, but obviously like it's a movie, so like there's certain things that they change up and things like that. But yeah, it's good. Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, they have a lot of chemistry and on-screen sort of romance going on, and it's fun to watch. And I definitely liked how the movie ended and how it all wrapped up. I believe I watched this in a sort of like special screening, like the second time around. I forget exactly what it was called, but like the music parts for this movie were just like a lot better because of it. And yeah, I think that this is a movie that's worth watching, especially if you're interested to see a sort of story with music and a sort of, stardom and everything like that. So next movie we got here is Alita Battle Angel. So I watched this in theaters and I honestly liked it. I mean, it is definitely like a little cheesy, a little corny because it is based off of a manga. But I think what they did here was good. It's not exactly like super great, mind you, but I think that for what it is, it's fun. I definitely was bugged out by Alita's eyes just being so goddamn big because she is a, I guess, anime character, and she's also a android robot, so they wanted to sort of emulate that within the movie. But me personally, I was definitely like bugged out by it for like the first like 30 minutes, but I eventually got used to it. But yeah, the story of Alita Battle Angel, she's pretty much this sort of like, I guess like android, half human sort of looking character. And yeah, stuff happens, some action, some adventure, stuff like that. I'm really bad at describing movies, if you can't tell, especially if I haven't watched it in a very, very long time. But this is one that's worth checking out if you know what you're getting into, because I know that a lot of people really sort of like trash this film for what it is, and it sucks because of the poor reception, and I believe the box office numbers weren't that great for this movie. We're probably never gonna get a sequel to this, so if you want to see the full story of Alita, you kind of have to read the manga, which one day I might. I'm not entirely sure because I'm not interested in reading it right now, but for this movie as a standalone sort of film, it's fine. That's all I can really say. Moving on, we got American Sniper. Once again, another movie we got at the used video store, and it has Bradley Cooper in it, and it's supposed to be pretty good. So, yeah, that's about it. That's all I can really say about that. Annihilation. Okay, what can I say about this movie without getting sort of bombarded by people that actually do like this movie? Because I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I watched it with my friend/neighbor, and the only reason I went to go watch it was because Natalie Portman's in it, and also the guy who plays Poe in Star Wars, he's right next to her. So I was just like, oh, okay, like there's some actors in here that I know, so let me go and see what this is about. I think I literally fell asleep in theaters watching this. And then when I woke up, like some weird trippy shit was happening, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I believe I tried to rewatch it on this Blu-ray maybe, and I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm not like super into like sci-fi stuff to begin with. And this movie does like a lot of like weird stuff going on. So I'm just like, I'm not entirely sure, like what's going on, like how I'm feeling about it. But it's definitely more towards the negative side. I liked Ex Machina, but this movie was not it for me personally. But we'll talk about Ex Machina when we get to that. Baby Driver. Okay, this is a fantastic action film. I mean, if you haven't watched it, like it is just very, very good. The story the music that they choose for this movie. Edgar Wright's directing is also great. Like, everything about this movie is just so much fun as well. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much about this guy named Baby, and he's a driver, and he's really good at it. So yeah, stuff happens. Obviously, this is a action movie, so there's gonna be some set pieces with like cars and guns and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty good. I really, really enjoyed it when I first watched it on this Blu-ray, actually, when it came out. Was it 2018, 2017, something like that? So yeah, and it's been a few years since I watched it, because I have not watched it since I watched it on this Blu-ray. So one day I'm definitely gonna have to repop it in and sort of check it out. Oh God, I almost dropped it. Back to the Future. So, funnily enough, I haven't watched these films until the pandemic started, because my neighbor slash friend who took me to see Annihilation when the pandemic started, we started doing like movie nights on like Discord or whatever. So one of the nights we did Back to the Future, and I was like, okay, let me go and see what Back to the Future is about, because obviously, like, I know about the DeLorean, I know about Marty McFly and Doc, so I want to go and see how these movies play out. And yeah, it's pretty good, honestly. I had a lot of fun watching Back to the Future 1. Back to the Future 2, it's a nice little continuation. Back to the Future 3, a nice continuation as well. But I think that Back to the Future 1 really, really, it's really something special. Like, I think the way that they do like time travel and sort of going back in time and then going back forward, obviously, like, sort of movies that involve time travel can get very, very complicated, especially if you don't explain the rules quickly to the audience. So but this series of films, it's pretty good. I really, really did enjoy it, as a person that literally watched them no more than like a year or two ago. It's pretty good. Next movie we got here is Battle of the Sexes, based on a true story. So this is a tennis movie, and you sort of get to see, I believe, Emma Stone and Steve Carell's character, they go head to head against each other, and they're like two of like the best tennis players. I can't remember exactly what happens in this movie. I'm sorry. Like I said, when it comes to movies, and it's been a few years, I forget exactly what happens. But I liked watching it when I first watched it. I believe we bought this at Best Buy, because Best Buy was the only place that had this movie. But yeah, Battle of the Sexes. If you're interested in either of these actors, I think that it is definitely worth checking out, and especially if you're interested in tennis and sort of like the history of like competitive sports or anything like that. Like, honestly, I'm a huge person that loves esports, and seeing this movie about competitive tennis was kind of interesting, and sort of seeing the drama behind the scenes and things like that. So it's kind of interesting. Next movie we got here, the Black Klansman. I said The Black Klansman, but this is a Spike Lee film produced by Jordan Peele, and it's pretty much about this guy who infiltrates the KKK, but he's the one talking to them, and then you have Adam Driver's character who goes in to the KKK, and sort of you get shenanigans happen, and you sort of get to see a lot of different things happen during this period of time, and sort of like, I guess, police undercover investigation. And it's very interesting. It is definitely a good movie, I will say that. I definitely enjoyed watching this in theaters. Seeing Adam Driver and John David Washington sort of interact with each other and work on this case was a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, Black Klansman, definitely worth checking out if you're interested. Next movie we got here is Blockers. So it's pretty much about these parents that are trying to block or cock block their kids from having sex on prom or something like that. It's very weird. It's very, very quirky, if I could say that. Like, you could say that it's a mediocre film. I think that as a comedy, it's fine. I think that as a movie, it's not leading more towards the good. It's definitely leading a little bit more towards the bad. But if you know what you're getting into, I think you can have a lot of fun with this movie. Anytime I see John Cena in any role, I kind of laugh, except for when he's Peacemaker, because he's actually like a pretty good peacemaker, and anyways, blockers, yeah, it's just about these parents trying to cock block their kids on prom night. So very, very interesting. Next movie we got here is Booksmart. So this is one of the best coming of age story films, I will say 100%. So it's pretty much about these two girls who got straight A's, and they were focused on getting straight A's. They never partied or had fun during high school. And then it turns out that a lot of the kids that are graduating with them, they also got into those same schools that they were applying for, but they were having fun and partying and not worrying as much about their grades in high school as they were. So they sort of have this revelation that like we need to like go to a party and like actually like have some fun before we graduate high school. And it's pretty good. There's a lot of shenanigans. There's a lot of moments that happen within this movie, for better or for worse. And yeah, by the end of it, I really enjoyed it. I think that for a coming of age story about two high schoolers within like 2018, 2019, I think this movie came out around that time. Yeah, 2019. I think that they did a fantastic job sort of like portraying them in that sort of era. But also on top of that, the chemistry between the two main characters is like great. Like I really bought into them being best friends and sort of like, sticking up for each other. And it's a lot of fun watching them interact and sort of figure out how to, get to a party before their senior year ends. So, yeah. Next movie we got here is Boyhood. I bought this at a grocery store because why not? I think it was like $10 or something like that. But anyways, Boyhood. I hear that this is a very good movie. I believe this boy is the same actor when he grows up. So they were literally filming this film as they were growing up and as time went on. So that's a very interesting concept. I haven't watched it yet. I hear that it is very, very good though. And I cannot wait to pop this in and see what it's all about. Next movie we got here is Bumblebee. If you know me, I am a Haley Steinfeld simp, and I don't know anything about Transformers whatsoever, but because she was in this movie, and I believe I had Movie Pass at the time, I was just like, screw it, whatever, we're gonna go watch this movie in theaters. And I liked it so much, I bought it on Blu-ray. But yeah, I mean, if you know what it is, it's pretty much about, Haley Steinfeld's character discovering Bumblebee, and Bumblebee's sort of like this fish out of water character, and he sort of has to get used to interacting with humans on Earth. And yeah, shenanigans happen. There's action, there's, CGI robots, cars, and things like that. And you have John Cena's character, which every single time he was on screen in theaters, I was literally laughing because I cannot take John Cena seriously. But, he's sort of trying to stop Bumblebee and sort of work with the Decepticons when, they are going to deceive them because they are called the Decepticons. But yeah, Bumblebee it's a fun movie. It's not the best Transformers movie, I will say that, but it is definitely like on the good side. Next movie we got here is Call Me By Your Name. So you got Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet sort of having a summer fling with each other, and it's kind of interesting. The way that this movie pans out, there's not really like a conflict in here. You're sort of like, I believe the way the director described this movie is that you're sort of like a fly on the wall, sort of watching their summer experience, and that's pretty much what this movie is. You're sort of just watching events happen and sort of just seeing them interact with each other. And it's a lot of fun, honestly. I think that, or maybe not a lot of fun, but it's definitely, you know what? Screw it. It is a lot of fun to sort of just watch them interact with each other and sort of have fun in Italy during the summer. And yeah, it's interesting. I definitely had no idea what I was getting myself into when I was watching it in theaters, and when I came out of it, I was thoroughly surprised and pleased with the end result. So yeah, definitely a movie that is worth checking out in my opinion. Next movie we got here is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. I read a lot of Captain Underpants when I was in elementary school, and I was interested to see how this animated movie would pan out. I haven't watched it yet. I bought it on Blu-ray, I believe on Black Friday at Best Buy one of the years. And I was just like, let me go and see what this is about. And I haven't watched it yet. I hear that this is actually like a pretty good like movie, but also like a pretty good like kids movie. So hopefully it lives up to those expectations. Who knows? But yeah. Next movie we got here is Crazy Rich Asians. I'm not showing my face on camera, but if you go on my channel, you know that I am Asian. So when I was watching this movie, it had an all Asian cast, and seeing representation in a movie like this was very, very good. I really enjoyed it, but also like this is like a pretty good movie. Like it's gonna be hard to not be biased because I am Asian and like I really, really enjoyed this movie. Um, but the sort of like rom-com and sort of romance drama elements within this movie are really, really good, and I really enjoyed seeing how they sort of took the sort of like Asian culture and sort of like had that be like the one of the main things within the story, and that was a lot of fun to see and definitely something that I connected with, not on a personal level, but because like I know other Asian people that go through this sort of, not the same conflict obviously, because this movie's kind of like to the extreme, if you will, but I know that Asian the older generation of Asian people sort of have a hard time accepting like new information in sort of like the new ways. But yeah, this movie, it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I even cried during this movie when I saw it in theaters, just because one of the sort of like climax moments, I was just like, man, like holy moly, yeah, this is a very good movie. And if you like romance movies, like definitely check this one out. Next movie we got here is Crazy Stupid Love. I think this is another one of those Netflix DVD rentals that me and my brother did during those times, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. I will say that I did not expect this movie to be as much fun as it was for a sort of like romance comedy movie, but yeah, it's been years since I watched it. I literally have not watched this movie since the Netflix DVD rental, but I still remember the plot twist because it was that crazy. I'm gonna be honest. So yeah. Next movies we got here is the Creed duology. So I remember watching Creed 1, and I really enjoyed it. I think I literally watched it off of this Blu-ray, and I popped it in, and I was just like, yeah, like I've never watched a Rocky movie, mind you. Like I don't, like I've never watched those films. But after watching Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther, I was like, I want to see him in other stuff. So I was just like, let me go and watch Creed, and he's pretty good in this movie, and the movie itself is pretty good as well. Once again, or maybe not once again, but movies, a lot of movies these days, they sort of do like the soft reboot thing, where like they take a older property. For example, this one is taking like the Rocky movies, and they're sort of bringing it back, but with new characters and a new storyline and sort of their story. And yeah, the story of Creed's son, I think, is a pretty good angle, and Michael B. Jordan definitely delivers, along with Sylvester Stallone. And then Creed 2, I remember watching this on Black Friday in movie theaters, and I can't believe I did that, because it was not a great movie theater experience, because the movie theater we went to go see it in, it was in a mall. So because of that, there were a lot of like normies, and like there was this one woman who like just kept coughing and just like couldn't stop like hacking, and I was just like, oh my god, like this is not fun. But Creed 2, it's a nice continuation of the Creed story. I don't think I really needed it for me personally, but I think that what they did with the sort of Creed story after one was pretty good. So definitely fun movies to watch. Next one we got here is Django Unchained. I remember buying this on Amazon because this was a movie that I wanted to see for a very, very long time. I remember watching commercials on this on TV, and I was just like, that looks like a good movie. Like 100%. Not because it was directed by Quentin Tarantino, but the angle that I liked that it was going in. It was like a Western, but with Jamie Foxx as sort of like the main cowboy, I guess. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it is a Quentin Tarantino film, so there's going to be a lot of style, a lot of blood, a lot of sort of action drama, It's good. What else can I really say about this movie that hasn't already been said? And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Next movie we got here is Drive with Ryan Gosling. This is another one of those used movie stores that me and my brother bought this from, and yeah, I don't really know much other than that this is a really good Ryan Gosling movie. Next one we got here is Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, and this is actually based on a manga, I believe, which I did not know when we bought it at Best Buy, but it's it's got a stacked sort of roster. I mean, Emily Blunt, Tom Cruise, like you can't really go wrong with those two actors behind or in front of you. Like they always do a great job in their movies. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is about, you know, you live, die, and then you do it again, something like that. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't watched it yet. Next movie we got here is Eighth Grade, written and directed by Bo Burnham, and his Netflix special, the newest one that came out, was pretty good. I forget exactly what it was called, but it came out, I believe, in 2020 or 2021. That was really good. Anyways, Eighth Grade. This is a really good coming of age story. It honestly depicts middle schoolers in such a smart way, but it's not like cringy. Because like eighth graders are cringy, right? But like the way that Bo Burnham wrote this movie and directed it was so good. Like this is a very good coming of age story about graduating middle school. And like I don't even think that that's been done before, or like done as well as this one before this movie, honestly, because like seeing Kayla, the main character, sort of go through what she's going through makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, I'm sure we've all been through middle school, hopefully, and you sort of, you know, get an idea of what you're getting into when you watch this movie. But seeing, I guess, kids of modern today interact the way they do in this movie was very, very well done, and I really, really liked it, and I definitely have to pop this in again one day and sort of watch it again. Next one we got here is Ex Machina. So I remember watching this on Amazon Prime Video, and it was pretty good. I mean, I had no idea what the hell I was watching or what I was getting myself into, but by the end of it, I was like, oh, okay, like that's a pretty good sort of sci-fi film. I'm not going to really give away exactly what the story's about, because if you know, you know, if you don't, sort of thing. But definitely going into this movie blind, I think is a smart idea. It's a sci-fi film, so I think that's all you really need to know, but there's that. 5 Feet Apart. So we got Haley Lou Richardson and Cole Sprouse, and they both have a sort of disease, and they fall in love with each other, but they have to be 5 feet apart, or else they're gonna kill, or else they are going to literally kill each other. So if you want to put COVID into sort of perspective, you know, I guess like 6 feet apart. Anyways, that was a terrible joke. I'm sorry, but this movie is very wholesome. It's very cute. I really like it for the romance stuff, but also like the sort of like drama elements that happen throughout the movie, because you get to know other characters that are within the same hospital that they're in, and sort of like what they're going through and sort of what their process is on life and things like that. So yeah, it's a good movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm sure a lot of people will say that it's bad, but you know, like I say, if you know what you're getting into, you should have a good time, honestly. Next movie we got here is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Don't know anything about this movie. I think my brother bought this from that used video store once again, and it has the actor from How I Met Your Mother, Jason Segel. So I think that's why you got it. So there is that. Next one we got here is Game Night. So this movie, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Oh shoot, the lights. What's going on? Anyways. Game Night, you pretty much have this guy, or like one of their friends. Okay, so pretty much these two, they're very good at like board games and things like that. Like they are very competitive with each other when it comes to board games, card games, etc. So eventually one of their friends has a game night, and people start dying. Like murders start happening, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's what's happening. So there's sort of like murder, like an actual murder mystery happening, but it's not a board game. It's an actual murder mystery, and they have to solve it. So it's fun. It's also, I'm not gonna say scary, because I don't think that this is a horror movie technically, but it is definitely a lot of fun. So next movie we got here is Get Out, Jordan Peele's directorial debut, and it's pretty good. I mean, like this is a movie that if you haven't watched yet, just watch it. I think that the sort of social commentary that Jordan Peele sort of inserts within this movie is pretty interesting, and you know, definitely controversial to some, but it's a good movie. I think that Daniel Kaluuya, I hope I said his name right, you know, I think that this was one of his breakout roles, and I believe that's why he's in a lot of movies these days. But I could be wrong. He probably has some other films before this that were that he was pretty good in, but I think that this one made him like a pretty well-known actor within Hollywood. Next movie we got here is Gifted. So I got this movie during a Black Friday sale, and I popped it in the night of that I bought it, and I watched it because of Chris Evans. You know, I love him as Steve Rogers, Captain America, so I wanted to see him in something else during this sort of like Marvel era, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's about him being this sort of like stepdad or sort of character. I believe he is the uncle to this girl who is gifted. She is extremely smart, like really smart, and he wants her to, you know, use her gifts as a super smart kid, but he also wants her to still have a childhood and still be a kid because that's who she is at the end of the day. So it's very wholesome. It's very cute. There's obviously or maybe not obvious. There is some drama elements, but you know, seeing Chris Evans sort of be this very wholesome sort of dad figure character is it's very fun. Next movie we got here is Godzilla. I believe that this was what's the actor's name? God damn it, what is his name? Bryan Cranston. I believe that this was his first role outside of Breaking Bad. So yeah, and I bought this movie on Go Hastings. It was a used Blu-ray store. I believe they no longer exist. But I bought this because I heard that it was not that great as a Godzilla movie, but I wanted to watch it with Bryan Cranston, and I still haven't watched it yet. This has been on my backlog for years now. So one of these days I will watch it, but it's definitely not as good as the newer Godzilla movies from my understanding. But this one is, you know, a sort of like reboot and sort of a reimagining of the, I guess, Godzilla character once again. So next movie we got here is Green Book. I only heard that this was a very good movie, and I bought it because I didn't see it in theaters. So yeah, that's all I really know about it. I know that Mr. Ali here, you know, he's a very good actor. So I wanted to see how this movie would shape up. Haven't watched it yet, still on my backlog. Next movie we got here is Hacksaw Ridge. I bought this alongside Gifted, and this was the other movie that I watched that same night. And I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Honestly, like the Amazing Spider-Man duology, you know, say what you will about them, but those are still fun Spider-Man films in my opinion. So seeing Andrew Garfield in a different role, very different obviously from Spider-Man / Peter Parker, was great. Honestly, you know, he's Desmond Doss. He's pretty much this guy who is saving his teammates without a gun or anything. And yeah, it is kind of crazy seeing this sort of true story unfold. This is my first ever war movie watching too. Or how should I say this sentence again? This is my first time ever watching a war movie. So seeing body parts and stuff like fly off, I was just like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? But obviously, you know, like I did get used to it as I was watching the film. But yeah, Hacksaw Ridge is a incredible film, and I recommend anyone to watch it, especially if you love Andrew Garfield and love him as Spider-Man. Next movie we got here is, or should I say movies, is the Harry Potter 8-film collection. This is still sealed. I watched all of these movies from my neighbor's collection. They lent me the Harry Potter movies as I was watching them. So they gave me 1 and 2, then 3 and 4, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, I like the Harry Potter series now. Like they were definitely fun films to watch, just because like seeing the actors grow up as the movies went on was kind of interesting. And you know, everybody got a favorite Harry Potter film, and personally I like Prisoner of Azkaban the most, just because of how they did the sort of like time travel stuff. I think that was like very interesting in sort of how they did that. But still, every single Harry Potter film I enjoyed them, I will say that. And Prisoner of Azkaban is just my favorite because I honestly view that film as like perfect in some ways. But yeah, you know, Harry Potter, you know, what can I say that hasn't already been said about these about these movies, you know? Like it is just such an iconic sort of like series of films that I think at this point, like if you haven't watched them yet, just watch them. Next movie we got here is Hereditary. This is a fucked up horror movie. Like 100%, this movie is so messed up. So when me and my brother watched this in theaters, I had no idea what I was getting into other than that this is going to be a horror movie. And by the end of it, I was like, holy moly, what the hell did I just watch? A modern day horror masterpiece is this quote from USA Today. In some ways it is, honestly. Like this is such an insane horror movie that I think that if you're even interested within the genre a little bit and you're a fan of horror movies especially, check this movie out. It is so goddamn good. And the way that they do the sort of like horror elements, like it's not just like jump scares, like it is actually like creepy vibes. Like I was definitely like uneasy when I was watching this movie in theaters, and I don't think I've watched it since then because I don't have to, because it was such a memorable experience that I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of scarring. Like I could definitely see some people walking out of the theater and being like, holy shit, like I am screwed for life kind of thing, you know? Like this is a insane movie. Next movie we got here is Home Alone 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. My mom showed me these movies when I was very, very young, as sort of like the Christmas movies, if you will. And yeah, these are fun movies. It's pretty much about this kid, Kevin McAllister, and he's left home alone as his family goes on vacation across the world in another country, whatever. So yeah, and he sort of has to defend his house from burglars, and yeah, shenanigans happen, funny stuff happens, you know. Like if you haven't watched Home Alone, just watch Home Alone. Like it is a fantastic sort of duology of films. You know, Home Alone 2 is more of the same, and Home Alone 1 sort of like the I guess like masterpiece, or the sort of like the cult classic of the two. But definitely like Home Alone just great. What can I say? Horrible Bosses. I think that me and my brother once again watched this during one of our sort of like Netflix rental DVD things, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into because I was so young. I didn't even have a job yet, so I didn't know what like a horrible boss looked like. But watching this movie, I was just like, okay, like this is obviously like to the extreme. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't remember much about the movie other than that it was funny, and like I had no idea what the hell was going on because these bosses are kind of like next level, if you will. So there's that. Hot Tub Time Machine. I remember watching this movie on Netflix, and yeah, I mean like Netflix like streaming, like it was on Netflix streaming for like a good like year or two. So yeah, I mean it's Hot Tub Time Machine. They get in this hot tub and then they travel back in time to when they were, I believe, college age. And yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting. Some stuff happens, you know, shenanigans happen. It's pretty much a comedy film, if I can say that. So next one we got here is I, Tonya. I believe, I forget how you would describe this movie, but this is based on a person and her story. So I guess like a biopic. I'm not exactly sure if that's the right term, but Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan and everyone else within this movie did a fantastic job sort of like portraying Tanya's story of like a ice skater or a figure skater, I should say. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. You know, I enjoyed seeing this story unfold in theaters, and honestly, I couldn't believe that there were a lot of people, or like a lot of sort of like movie YouTuber critics, that were just not talking about this movie. I feel like that this movie was worth talking about because it was just that good. Definitely worth watching if you're interested to see a sort of I guess based on a true story kind of film, but with actors like Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan. So next movie we got here is Inception. Just like with everyone else, when I saw this movie in theaters, I was just like, what am I watching? Like, what is going on? And obviously, like now, it's been years since this movie has come out, so you know what's going on now. It's a dream within a dream, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, this is a Christopher Nolan film, probably one of his most well-known films by far. And yeah, like it's good. Like Inception is a movie that if you haven't watched yet, definitely check it out. You might get confused after your first viewing. You might have to watch it a second time or maybe even a third. But I promise you, like, this is a very, very good film. So next movie we got here is It 2017, I believe. I believe this movie came out in 2017. Pretty much the It remake. And this was my first ever horror movie. And I think that this was a good sort of segue into the horror genre because honestly, when I was younger, I was such a scaredy cat when it came to horror. Like the Chucky doll, oh my god, bro, that scared the ever living hell out of me. But after watching it, and obviously I've watched other films like Hereditary and A Quiet Place, etc., etc. So, you know, I'm a lot more keen on horror now. But It Chapter 1, it's pretty good. I really liked how they did Pennywise in this movie and sort of how the kids sort of try to, I guess, stop Pennywise from terrorizing their town. So, yeah, it's definitely a horror movie that is worth checking out if you haven't already. And I would recommend watching that if you want to ease your way into the genre. Next one we got here is It Follows. This is a movie that my brother has recommended me as a really, really good horror film, and I just haven't watched it yet, honestly. This has been on my backlog for a long time. I've set it aside to watch it, and I just haven't popped it in yet. So one of these days, that will happen. Next set of movies we got here is the John Wick trilogy. So we got John Wick 3, 2, and 1. So watching John Wick 1 and seeing them kill his dog and then him literally kill everyone was kind of crazy. But the action sequences, the sort of gunfights, the choreography, everything about a action film that you would want to see done well, it's done well here. And Keanu Reeves really does a great job in this role as John Wick. And yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed this first film because, you know, there was nothing really behind it to sort of, you know, subvert your expectations. So, you know, seeing John Wick 1 was a lot of fun. And then we get into John Wick 2, which, you know, still great action, great choreography, you know, great fight scenes, all of that stuff. But, you know, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I was just not into this film as much as I was with the first one. Not to say that it's a bad movie. It's just that John Wick Chapter 2, I was just not sort of like that into it. But John Wick 3, however, oh my god, I watched this movie in theaters and I believe I saw it opening weekend and it was so much fun. Like the scenarios and the sort of fight scenes, everything that happens within John Wick 3, I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. And I cannot wait to see what they do in the other movies because they obviously have to one up every single movie after the last one. So, you know, I wonder on how they're going to do in John Wick 4 and 5, I believe. But yeah, the action in this movie is just, it is just insane. So, yeah. And I think I still like John Wick 1 as my favorite, and then John Wick 3 is like very, very close. Next movies we got here is the Kick-Ass 1 and 2. It sucks that we will never get Kick-Ass 3 with these actors, just because it's been so long since Kick-Ass 2 came out. But Kick-Ass 1, I watched this when I was very, very young at my neighbor's house, and definitely people were coming into the E-room and seeing me as a small little kid watching this movie with curse words and blood and all of this other stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you know, like, I can handle it. And yeah, I mean, this is a very good sort of comic book movie, and this was one of the first rated R comic book movies, and it was done exceptionally well. I think that the casting for these characters was done pretty well. What's his name? God damn it. The guy who plays, he's not, goddamn, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage in this movie, he's actually like pretty good. I did not expect him to be as good as he was in this role, just because, you know, Nicolas Cage gets memed online, but he's very good in this film. And obviously, like Aaron Johnson, Chloe Grace Moretz, like they are great. And I really, really, really love this film. Like, this is one of my favorite sort of like comic book films outside of like the Marvel stuff, obviously, but definitely Kick-Ass is, even in 2022, like, I think that this is a movie that's worth checking out. And then we got Kick-Ass 2, which I saw this one in theaters. I didn't see Kick-Ass 1 in theaters, but I saw Kick-Ass 2 in theaters. And yeah, I mean, it's more of, you know, the Kick-Ass stuff that I was expecting. It is a little weird on how they do the sort of storylines, because you have Kick-Ass, who's still doing, Kick-Ass things, and he sort of forms like the Avengers, I guess, equivalent. And then you have Chloe Grace Moretz, who's going back to school, and she's not really playing as Hit Girl, or she's not Hit Girl anymore, obviously. But stuff happens where she does return. But for the most part, her storyline is very much focused on her just trying to be a high schooler, and it's sort of like a coming of age story with her, which is kind of weird for this movie. But honestly, I liked it. I still like Kick-Ass 2. I think that this is a fun movie still. Maybe not as fun as the first one, but still, seeing these characters once again by these actors was still a lot of fun. There is some messiness with the story in this movie, but it is what it is at the end of the E-Day, because like we're never gonna get a Kick-Ass 3, like I said, with the same cast, the same characters. Anyways, Knives Out. You're gonna see some 4K Blu-rays in here, because I have a PS5 now, so now whenever I buy new movies, I try to buy them in 4K if they have a 4K version. But anyways, Knives Out. This is a very good movie. It's a mystery movie, I think. It's sort of like so pretty much there was a death, and now we're trying to figure out, it's a murder mystery. That's the word that I was looking for. And the cast in this movie is stacked as hell. Holy moly, the amount of great actors in this movie is literally insane. And yeah, it's pretty good. I think that the way the story unfolds in this murder mystery is very, very well done. And I never really knew what was going to happen next. When I saw this in theaters, I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen next? Like, how does this fit into this, and how does this fit into that? It's great. It's awesome. And I cannot wait to see what Rian Johnson does with Knives Out 2, because I think that will be very, very interesting. And, we'll talk about the Star Wars movie that Rian Johnson did when we get there. But yeah, Rian Johnson, awesome director. Next movie we got here is La La Land. So La La Land, this is a musical, I believe. And it has Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling singing, dancing, all of that fun stuff. And yeah, I literally watched this in theaters after I forget exactly what award show it was, but I think it was one of the Academy Awards. They were supposed to, or they announced that they won Best Picture, and then it went to Moonlight. So I bought Moonlight on Blu-ray, and then I watched this movie in theaters, actually, because they did like a sort of like rerun in theaters afterwards. So yeah, this was a very fun movie, honestly. I think that the way that they do the romance stuff as well, I think that was sort of well done with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. But yeah, obviously the musical aspect is like the main focus and the sort of like main component of this movie, and it's well done. So that's all I can really say, because like it's a fantastic film. Next movie we got here is Lady Bird. So when I saw this in theaters, like this was a very good coming of age story once again. And I saw this around the same time I watched Booksmart as well. I think this movie came out the same year, 2017. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much about this girl who's going through senior year, and you sort of get to see that from her home life, her school life, her friend group, etc., etc. So yeah, it's pretty good when I first watched it, and then we recently rewatched it. And I don't know, Lady Bird is just a bitch. I don't know. Like she's just so mean, but like I don't know what it was, but when I saw it in theaters, I didn't think that. But on a rewatch, I was just like, wow, like she's just so like not like understanding, and I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've gotten older, or maybe it's just because I view the movie in a different way, but it's still like a very good movie. Like I think that the way that they portray, I guess like the teenage angst, if you will, it makes sense, honestly. I think that with the sort of home life that she has, and the sort of situation that Lady Bird why did I sound like that? With the situation that Lady Bird is put in, it makes sense. But yeah, I think that this is definitely a coming of age story that's worth checking out at least once. I will say that. Next movie we got here is Long Shot. This is my favorite modern romance comedy movie. It is Seth Rogen and Charlize Thuron. Hopefully I said that right. But anyways, it's pretty much about them sort of. I believe that they have a history with each other, and then they find each other again, and then they sort of form a relationship from work or something like that. Anyways, it's very cute. It's very wholesome. It's also very funny. Holy moly! This is one of the funniest romance comedy movies that I've watched of recent years, and I loved it so much when I watched it in theaters. And I don't even think it did that well at the box office. But I think that uh, if you like romance comedy movies, definitely check this one out. It is 100% worth it because when you see Seth Rogen, you're like, oh man, like this movie can't be that good, right? Like as a romance comedy movie, holy moly, Seth Rogen kills it. Honestly, like this is such a good movie. So yeah, moving on from there, we got Looper. This is another movie that deals with time travel, and sort of like a older, younger version of the same character with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it's interesting. I will say that. Um, we we actually watched this recently during one of the movie nights, and I can't remember what exactly like happened at the end, but I know some like crazy stuff happens as sort of like a action movie with like sort of time travel and past and future selves colliding and stuff like that. Like it's a little weird, but you know, a lot of people really do enjoy this movie and find it to be pretty cool. So yeah, Looper. Next movie we got here is Love, Simon. I've watched this movie so many times on the plane just because, when you're on a plane, they have like those free movies and I just have it on and just put it on mute. And yeah, I mean, this is a cute sort of like love story. Like this is a very cute romance movie about this guy named Simon who's gay and he doesn't know how to sort of express that and sort of tell his friends about it and sort of go about with his crush. And yeah, I mean, I think that this movie handles that sort of subject matter pretty well. I think that it was realistic in terms of how the characters were reacting to certain scenarios and sort of how things played out. It makes sense. Yeah, Love, Simon. Like if you are interested in this movie at all whatsoever, like honestly, just go watch the trailer on YouTube, and if you're interested, watch it. It is worth it if you like sort of like teenage romance movies. Next movie we got here is Mean Girls. I haven't watched this. My brother bought it because he likes this movie. But yeah, I definitely have to check it out because I know that there's a lot of memes attached to this that I've seen on my timeline. So yeah, definitely gonna have to watch this one of these days. I know it's something about like Wednesdays we wear pink or something like that. I forget. I probably said that wrong. Anyways, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This is a Mission Impossible movie. What else can I really say? Because I haven't watched it. So there is that. Molly's Game. Okay, so this is a movie that is about this girl. I believe Molly. She does some like gambling stuff or like a sort of like high stakes poker game as far as I could tell with the synopsis over here, and she gets caught for it, and it sort of jumps back and forth between the past and present, between the court case and her sort of like recalling the scenarios. And yeah, it's a very interesting movie. I will say that like it was definitely, I don't want to say fun. It was definitely engaging to watch. I will say that. This was a movie that I was hooked in. I was invested in it all the way through, and I really enjoyed it by the end of it. I think that this is a movie that, if you're interested on movies that are based on true stories, if you will, this is one worth checking out. Next movie we got here is Moonlight. So this was my first ever movie that I watched based on sort of like Golden Globes and sort of like Academy Award winning stuff. So I was like, oh, Moonlight, like this movie won, Best Picture. So I was like, okay, let me see how good Moonlight actually is, and it is very, very good. It's pretty much about this guy who and sort of you get to see like his story of like how he grew up and sort of his upbringing and how that affected him becoming a man. And it's very, very interesting and very heartwarming, or maybe not heartwarming, but very emotional and very, very grounded. So yeah, I mean, it's been years since I watched it, so apologies for sort of like stepping over my words and not exactly describing the movie as good as it is, honestly. But yeah, Moonlight is definitely worth checking out if you haven't already, because that's a very good movie, like 100%. Next one we got here is Neighbors. I think my brother bought this because why not? It's Seth Rogen, Zac Efron. What's the worst that could happen? Pacific Rim. This is a movie that I watched because of, I believe, the Game Station. That's a YouTube channel from years and years ago. But they were doing like a lot of promo with Pacific Rim, but also like this is a movie with giant robots and giant monsters fighting each other. Like, how can you not want to watch a movie like that, you know? So I was like, okay, Pacific Rim, let me watch it. And it is very, very good. It is a lot of fun. I think Guillermo del Toro did a fantastic job directing this movie. And I think that Pacific Rim, like as a movie, like as a sort of like movie with like kaiju and like big monsters and big robots, like it's pretty good. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. But for the sequel, Pacific Rim Uprising, I hear that this movie is pretty bad. I haven't watched it yet, but I bought it because it was on sale at Black Friday at Walmart or something like that. So I was just like, let me just buy it because I kind of want to see how bad it is. John Boyega, you know, he's from the Star Wars series, so you know, rooting for my boy, but you know, it's not his fault that the movie's bad. Hopefully not. But moving on from there, we got Paddington 2. I've never watched Paddington, and because of that, I haven't watched Paddington 2, but I heard that this was a great movie, so we bought it on a Black Friday sale. Paper Towns. This is a coming-of-age story, I believe, about these kids. One of them runs away, and then the other one chases after them. I forget exactly what happened. But yeah, I mean, for what it is, like it is definitely cheesy, corny, sort of a teen movie, but I kind of liked it. I'm gonna be honest. It's been years since I watched it though, so maybe my opinion will change when I watch it like today. But yeah, when I watched it, like I was like, oh, you know, like that was kind of fun, you know, like for what it was, you know, definitely a movie that I think if you're not into teen movies, 100% stay away from. 100%. Parasite. Oh my God. Parasite. This is just a fantastic movie. I think the way that they bridge the story together and how everything comes together in the end and sort of the ending and how everything comes together, like it was just fantastic, phenomenal. Like holy moly. Like I watched this the day of it won Best Picture. And I didn't know that the Academy Awards were happening that day. I just happened to watch it the same day that it won. So I watched it later that night, went on Twitter, and then I was like, oh shit, it won Best Picture. Damn right it did, because this movie is fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because this is a foreign sort of like Korean film, but it is just a fantastic story. Like if you can get past reading subtitles, which you should, because it's literally just reading, it's a great story. Like, oh my God, it's just a fantastic film. And I honestly want to rewatch it on 4K, because now I have the PS5. I actually want to rewatch it and see, you know, see it all over again in my game room. So yeah. Paul. This is a movie that I saw commercials of and I thought it was hilarious. But I've never watched it, so there's that. But I know it's about like this alien and like he's kind of funny. So there's that. Pokemon Detective Pikachu with Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith. This is a very good video game movie film. I think that for what it is, you know, a movie about Pokemon, I think that it handles it pretty well. I think that Justice Smith and Ryan Reynolds, you know, it's sort of like a buddy cop movie kind of thing with Pikachu talking as Ryan Reynolds. So yeah, it's good as a sort of video game movie. I think like as a movie itself, it's okay. But obviously like it has the Pokemon IP attached to it. I think the CG Pokemon, some of them look good, some of them look kind of bad. Like if you look at Charizard here, holy moly, what did they do to my boy? But I think for the most part, the sort of like CG realistic look for the Pokemon works, but I would honestly have preferred if they had just went with like a sort of like smooth sort of like video game look, or maybe just like went like maybe even like 2D animation look. I think that would have been a lot better, but still, you know, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, it's a pretty good video game movie film. Next one we got here is the Power Rangers reboot movie. Personally, I kind of liked it. I know that for kids, like they probably did not like it, just because literally they go into their ranger forms in like the last act of the movie, which, you know, kind of sucks that it took them so long to do that. But I think that the story of these sort of like troubled kids getting these powers and sort of learning to work as a team and everything like that, I think that was a very good story to tell. And it definitely sucks that we aren't going to see another film with these actors again in Power Rangers 2, because I think that it could have worked, because they did tease something at the end for a sequel. But it is what it is. You know, I think that for this movie, for what it was, I think that, you know, it was a nice attempt, and I honestly really liked it. Rocket Man. This is a movie that my brother watched, and he said it was very, very good, but I didn't watch it in theaters because it was out of theaters at that point. But I believe that this is the story of Elton John, which I don't know who he is, other than he's like a very well-known person within the music industry. So yeah, maybe one day I will sit down and actually watch this, because, you know, I hear a lot of good things about it. So next movie we got here is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This is a movie that bombed in the box office, but when it came out on Blu-ray, holy moly, people were buying this stuff up in the truckloads. Like, this movie did so well in the Blu-ray sales, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is pretty much about this guy named Scott, and he wants to date Ramona Flowers, but in order to do that, he has to fight her 7 evil exes. So there's that. There's action, there's comedy, there's romance. It's a very, very fun movie. I think if you like video games, you will definitely find another layer of appreciation for this movie. But if you know like pop culture and just like sort of I guess teen movies again, you will definitely enjoy this one. I think the story of Scott Pilgrim definitely lends itself very well to a sort of, I guess, live action adaptation. And I think that this one did it really, really well, actually. So next one we got here is Sicario. I believe we bought this at Best Buy because it was like pretty cheap. But I haven't watched it, and it has a pretty stacked cast. I mean, Josh Brolin, Emily Blunt, you know, so I think that, you know, for those actors alone, I think that you are going to get a pretty good movie, hopefully. So next movie we got here is Skyfall 007. This is my first ever James Bond movie. This was my first ever watching a James Bond film, and I really liked it. I watched this on Amazon Video before buying it on Blu-ray, just because I wanted it on Blu-ray to rewatch it again, because it's not on Amazon anymore. But yeah, it's good. It's a very good action film. For me, not knowing anything about James Bond, I liked it. So next movie we got here is Sonic the Hedgehog in 4K and on Blu-ray, because I bought it on Blu-ray first, and then the 4K version went on sale, and I was like, I have to get the 4K version, because if I'm going to rewatch it, I'm going to rewatch it in 4K. Anyways, Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the golden example of a video game adaptation done really, really well. I think that the way that they were able to retell or tell a new story of Sonic the Hedgehog with a new origin story, with new characters, a new environment, a new world, it's pretty good. I think that... what's his name? God damn it. Who plays Sonic? Who voices Sonic? His voice for Sonic is a pretty good. James Marsden as Tom, you know, very, very fun, or as Donut Lord, if you will. And Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman. Holy moly, you could not have gotten a better casting for this character. He's so wacky, he's so goofy, and I cannot wait to watch Sonic 2, because they're doing a lot in that movie. I'm going to be honest, but I think that what they're doing with it, it can work, definitely. So, you know, I'm very happy with this adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog for the movie, and yeah, I'm excited for the future for Sonic in movies. So there's that. Next movie we got here is Split, a M. Night Shyamalan movie that is actually good, apparently. I haven't watched it yet. I've been meaning to watch this movie for a very, very long time, just because I know a lot of people talk about this movie and praise it for how good it is, but I just haven't popped it in yet, so one of these days I will. Star Trek Into Darkness. I literally bought this at a thrift store because it was cheap, and yeah, that's all I could really say. I don't have a opinion on Star Trek, but I do have a opinion on Star Wars. So, Star Wars. So first we got the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. So the prequels, that's kind of like what I grew up with. I remember watching episode 3 in theaters and I fell asleep and I spilled water on myself as a kid. Like, I don't know what happened, but I fell asleep because I guess I just wasn't that into Star Wars. But nowadays, I like Star Wars. Star Wars is cool. I'm not like a super diehard fan of it, but if they release new Disney shows or whatever, I will definitely check them out. But the original trilogy, it's as good as people say it is. Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi. All of those movies are good, and still hold up to this day. I think for the prequels, there's definitely a sort of love-hate appreciation for them. Revenge of the Sith is definitely the best one, but that movie is still like very flawed in some ways, if you will. There's definitely some things that happen in that movie that I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? Some things aren't really adding up, if you will. But that is Star Wars for that. And then we have the Disney trilogy. So you got The Force Awakens, and then you got The Last Jedi, and then The Rise of Skywalker. So these movies I've seen all in theaters when they came out. So let me just talk about The Force Awakens. So this is the sort of soft reboot of the Star Wars series with new characters while also bringing in the older ones, and it's good. The Force Awakens is a very good starting point for this new Star Wars trilogy. But by the end of it, you could very much tell that they did not have a plan for this trilogy whatsoever, which I will talk about when we get to the Rise of Skywalker. But The Force Awakens, it is good. I think that people that don't like this movie need to chill out a little. The Last Jedi, though, oh boy, this is a very polarizing film within the Star Wars community. And I'm gonna say this: I love this movie. I think that this is my favorite Star Wars movie. Just because they were doing so many like different things. Obviously, like there are some parts of the movie that are not as great, such as Finn's storyline when he goes to the casino. I think one of the scenes with Poe and the sort of light speed thing, like that was dope as hell. When I saw that in theaters, that literally blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, they did not just do that. And then other parts of the film, such as with Kylo Ren and Rey and all of that other stuff, and Luke Skywalker, like, oh my god, like I love this film, honestly. And I cannot believe there are people that honestly really hate this film and say that this is the worst Star Wars movie, because it's not. I think that this is honestly a pretty good film, and I think that Rian Johnson knew what he was doing, and because they gave him the freedom to do what he wanted, he did what he wanted, and because of that, it definitely hurt the fan base a little bit, but at the same time, I think that it was for the better. It's unfortunate because after that, we got the Rise of Skywalker, where they kind of retconned a lot of the stuff that happened within The Last Jedi and sort of redid some things, and because of that, this movie is supposed to be the last of the trilogy, but at the same time act as a sort of fix-up for The Last Jedi, which is kind of weird. So because of that, this movie is a hot mess. Oh my god, there is so much that's just going on within this movie that I'm just like, what is going on? There are just some things that just like don't make sense. There are some plot points and some pieces that I'm just like, why did they do that? Why did they do this? It's definitely paced horrendously. Like there's just so much going on, and it's just happening so fast, and I'm just like, what is going on? Palpatine's back, like, oh my lord. And by the end of it, I was like, okay, so that's how that's gonna end, huh? So yeah, you can definitely tell that Disney did not have a outline or a plan whatsoever for this new trilogy, which sucks, because I think that it could have been a really great Star Wars story with Finn and Rey and everything like that. But Finn, he never got his story. He really never got his story, and Rey's story was really botched in some ways. The the way that like she really didn't need to know who her parents were, because like, you know, like that was such like a cool thing within the Last Jedi. And then they just, but yeah, the Rise of Skywalker. It's not that great, but it's not the worst Star Wars movie. I'm just not a fan of it. All right, next we got here is Straight Outta Compton. This is a very good movie from my understanding, but I haven't watched it yet. So yeah, I love hip hop music. I'm one of those new sort of like hip hop heads, if you will. So I don't know a lot of the old school stuff like these guys. So maybe this movie will enlighten me, if you will. Superbad. Oh my God, this is, I'm not gonna say it's a bad movie, but it is definitely not aged well, in my opinion. I think that sort of the sort of funny coming of age story films, this one doesn't hold up, in my opinion. You know, some of the jokes don't land just because like the way jokes are done these days are not as, I guess, raunchy and as raw, if you will. But it is still a fun sort of comedy movie that, you know, is worth checking out if you want to see a movie from like the early 2000s, 2007, 2008 sort of era. So yeah. Next movies we got here is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original and Secret of the Ooze. I do not have Ninja Turtles 3 because that movie is god-awful and I do not want to have that on Blu-ray. But maybe one day I'll buy it. Anyways, the original film is fantastic. It is honestly a very, very good live-action adaptation of the Turtles, and I think that we haven't gotten a really good Ninja Turtles film since then, honestly. And this one, you know, it was the first one, and it is still probably the best one, in my opinion. Secret of the Ooze, still good. You know, I think that they heard the complaints that parents had, and you know they didn't use their weapons as much, and it definitely played a little bit more towards the comedy aspect. But even then, this is still a fun film, and I still have fond memories watching this on VHS from my neighbors who allowed me to borrow those VHS films and allowed me to watch these movies. So yeah, that is the Ninja Turtles. Next movie we got here is Ted. I have this movie because I've always wanted to watch it, but I still haven't. I mean, Seth MacFarlane as a teddy bear, a talking teddy bear, like, that has to be dumb as... Like, that just has to be dumb, right? So, one day I'll definitely sit down and watch this and have a good time, hopefully. So, next movie we got here is The 40-Year-Old Virgin. So, yeah, I believe that this was Steve Carell's, like, breakout role, in a sense. Yeah, it's funny. This is a great comedy movie. I think that what, you know, the movie is, it's about this 40-year-old virgin, and you sort of get to see him live his everyday life before, you know, he eventually loses his virginity. Spoiler alert, oh my God. But yeah, you know, it's fun. Next movie we got here is The Disaster Artist, based on what's it called? Tommy Wiseau's The Room, sort of like the making of that. And you have James Franco and his brother sort of playing as characters, and Seth Rogen's in here too. Yeah, this is a great film. I mean, like, The Room, if you haven't watched The Room, holy moly, that movie is trippy as hell. So watching this movie was great. I really, really enjoyed seeing how they were able to, like, recreate certain parts of the film and just, like, sort of, like, play it off. Like, this is still, like, you know, this is literally what happens in the room, and they literally remade certain scenes one for one as Tommy Wiseau and sort of, like, as, like, these new, I guess, versions of the characters. So yeah, it's great, honestly. This is a fantastic film. If you haven't watched The Room yet, definitely watch it before watching this one, because I think you will have a additional layer of appreciation when watching this movie. Next movie we got here is The Edge of 17. This is another one of my favorite coming-of-age story films with Haley Steinfeld, Woody Harrelson. And yeah, it is great. It's pretty much about this girl who is 16, 17, something like that. And you get to see her go through high school, and she's going through relationship problems, love problems, you know, school problems, family problems. Like, she's got a lot going on here. And, you know, she feels like it's the end of the world because, you know, she's a goddamn teenager. And it's great. It's fun. You know, Haley Steinfeld really owns this character, and it's fun to see her being a teen that just doesn't give a shit, honestly. So yeah, definitely a fun coming of age story that I highly recommend watching. Next movie we got here is The Farewell. So the way this movie is sort of played out, it's pretty much about this grandma who's gonna die from some sort of disease. I forget exactly what it was. It could be cancer. I forget exactly what it is, but they all have to keep it a secret from her because they don't want her to know, which is kind of weird. So it's sort of like everyone's keeping the lie from her. So I guess that's why it says based on an actual lie. So yeah, so it's pretty much about Aquafina's character trying to sort of go through this and not tell her Nai, which I believe is like her grandma, about, you know, she's gonna die. So they're all trying to, you know, go through, I guess, like the last sort of like days with her. But she actually ends up like living, and I believe at the end of this movie, you actually see her actually, you know, live through it, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, but seeing that conflict and seeing that sort of you know, interesting scenario play out is it's a lot of fun. And there are definitely some funny moments in this, but I definitely think that it is much more of a drama, if you will. Next movie we got here is The First Purge. I literally bought this because one of my coworkers at the time said that she watched it and she said that it was good. So when it went on sale for Black Friday on Blu-ray, I was like, sure, I'll buy it. I'll check it out. I still have, oh God, I just dropped some movies. I still haven't watched it. But I hear that this is actually one of like the better Purge movies. I know that, you know, they keep pumping these out because, you know, the Purge is sort of like a very easy concept to sort of like just repumping movies out over and over again. But yeah, apparently this is one of the better ones, I think. So maybe it's as good as it is. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll find out when I get there. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Okay, so we watched this during one of our movie nights, and this movie's goddamn crazy. That's all I can really say. I believe that this is another sort of like murder mystery kind of thing, but there are other elements to it that aren't just that. So it's not like Knives Out, but there are other things that are happening within this movie. There's definitely a lot of trigger warning stuff in here. I will say that. So if you are uneasy to certain things, be mindful when watching this movie. Maybe look them up before you watch this movie. But yeah, this is a good movie regardless of those sort of like trigger warnings and sort of like the very disturbing scenes that happen. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a great movie. Next movie we got here is The Hangover. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much about these guys who get hungover and then they wake up and they have to figure out what the hell, where they are, what they're doing, how are they going to get home, etc. So I believe they made 3 of these movies. I watched part 2 in theaters or something like that. But you know, this is the first one, and yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's definitely like what the hell's going on sort of thing. And yeah, I'm definitely careful around alcohol now because of those films, 100%. The Hate U Give, definitely a movie that is very, very politically driven, but I believe that this movie did it really, really well. I think that the way that they portrayed the message about sort of, you know, like police brutality and sort of like unequal treatment between the black and white sort of, you know, colors, if you will, is very much true, and it is still a problem within America today, and hopefully will be solved by the time I die. If not, well, we're fucked, sort of thing, you know. But yeah, the Hate U Give, it is definitely a very, very good movie that tackles this subject exceptionally well. So next movie we got here is The Hitman's Bodyguard. I heard that this was one of the better films of the year that this came out in, and I didn't watch it in theaters because I thought that it was going to be bad, but it turns out that it was pretty good, so I bought it on Blu-ray. Haven't watched it yet, but one day I definitely will. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, that has to be funny, right? Like, come on. Next movies we got here is the Lego Movie, part 1 and 2. So the Lego Movie, this is a movie that really took everyone by storm, like as a kids movie and like as a movie in general. This is very, very good. I remember watching this on iTunes or something like that. I believe I bought this with like some sort of Apple gift card that I had, and yeah, it is pretty good. You know, you get to see the sort of Lego people do Lego things, and there's also a sort of like extra story attached to it. But yeah, the Lego Movie, it's good. The second part, though, Not so much. I think I kind of could have seen what they were going for, but it just didn't land for me. But this is still like a fun, kids movie. I think that, them doing a part three, however, please don't. I think that after the Lego Movie one, they should have stopped. But obviously, they're trying to sell toys. They're trying to sell, tickets and make money. So, they obviously had to make a second part. But yeah, I think that for what it is, part two it's part two. Next movie we got here, The Nice Guys. This is a fantastic buddy cop film. Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, holy moly. They are great. They are both on a case to solve a sort of murder mystery, if you will. And they are a fantastic duo. Obviously, great duos. They don't like working with each other at first. And then eventually, they sort of get past their differences and they start working with each other. They both have different assets, different skills that is useful in the case, and it's great. It's fun. It is smartly ran. It is greatly directed. Shane Black. Oh my God. I love the way he wrote and directed this movie. Like, beautiful, honestly. The Nice Guys, check it out, because I honestly would love to see a Nice Guys 2, because I think that this movie deserves one. Next movie we got here is The Shape of Water. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this movie as the girl who has sex with a fish or whatever, which is kind of true. But for what it is a romance movie about this girl who is mute. She can't talk. She speaks with like sign language. And this fish who also can't be understood by people, and they sort of form this connection, and some stuff starts happening, and yeah, it's definitely a little weird, obviously, but it's a good movie. I will say that. The Shape of Water, I think that it is definitely worth checking out. Guillermo del Toro, once again, he knows what he's doing. Next movie we got here, The Social Network. Okay, so this is the movie about Netflix, how Netflix all came to be. And you got some fantastic actors within this movie. You got Andrew Garfield. You got what's his name? Got Jesse Eisenberg as goddamn Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. God damn it, yeah, Mr. Zuckerberg. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic, honestly. Seeing how Facebook came to be, and the sort of aftermath and the fallout of everything that happened, like it is crazy, especially with how Facebook is today. Like a Social Network Part 2 might be warranted, honestly, or maybe just like some sort of like documentary on Netflix or on Facebook, and how Facebook is used today, and how it has evolved over time and things like that. But yeah, The Social Network, fantastic. The Upside. This is a movie that I know is good. I mean, Bryan Cranston, he is a fantastic actor. Kevin Hart, I did not expect him to be in an actual good movie, but he is. And this is apparently a wholesome, funny film, from my understanding, but I haven't watched it yet, so I'll get to that eventually. The Wolf of Wall Street. This is a Martin Scorsese film about this guy who's a what's it called? A stockbroker, and he does some pretty shady shit. I will say that. This is a very, very long movie, but it's worth it. It is very, very good. You get to see how sex, money, power, drugs. That's pretty much all you need to know, and that is littered throughout this entire movie. All of that stuff, and it's great. It's fantastic. There is a lot going on within this movie, but Leonardo DiCaprio, he is great within this movie, and I think that if you haven't watched The Wolf of Wall Street, like 100%, check it out. This is a movie that is worth watching, because I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and by the end of it, I was like, wow, that was a movie for sure. This is the end, pretty much about a fictional what if the world ended, and you got all of these random Hollywood actors and A-list celebrities in the movie sort of figuring out what they would do if the world ended. And it's funny, it's wacky, it's goofy, it's all those things. That's all I can really say. Moving on from there, we got 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This is a very, very emotional, very drama-filled movie. And yeah, it's pretty much about this mom who's trying to find her I believe missing child or something like that. Something happened, and she has these billboards right outside of town, and she uses that to sort of communicate with the town. And yeah, it is a crazy movie. There is a lot that's going on here. And yeah, I watched this in theaters. It was a experience for sure. I will say that seeing that movie in a packed theater and watching or hearing everyone sort of like react to certain things, and you know it was great. Honestly, I think that three billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri is worth checking out. Not just because it's a sort of like a sort of Academy bait movie, but also like it is genuinely a good movie. Train to Busan. This is a movie that we watched on Netflix. Me, Damien, Kofi, Louie, like a bunch of my friends. We were just over at Damien's house, and we just popped this, and we just saw it on Netflix, and we were just like, let's just watch it. And this is a very good zombie film. That is from Korea, and yeah, like this is very, very good. I know that they're making some sort of like American adaptation of it. Don't watch that. Watch this movie. Just watch the original. It is so good. Like this movie had no right to be as good as it was, because at some point, because we just had it playing in the background. At some point, we were actually like invested in the movie because it was getting good. I was like, yo, what the hell is going on? Yeah, this is a fantastic zombie movie, and like the best zombie sort of like properties are the ones about the people, and it's never about the actual zombies. So, and this movie does that fantastically. So, Train to Busan. Next movie we got here is Upgrade. From my understanding, this is pretty much if Venom was good, but that's all I really know about it. I know that this movie's good, and that's about it, but I haven't watched it yet, so I have no idea what it's about or anything like that. So, Us, Jordan Peele's second movie, and it is great. This movie is very weird, very wacky, but also sort of plays into the sort of like psychological horror elements in a way. It's not a horror film, in my opinion. I think that it is definitely leaning towards that genre, but it's not fully in there yet, in my opinion. But this is definitely a movie that you will be intrigued the whole way through, and you will not believe what happens at the end. I will say that. I had no idea what the hell was going on by the end of it. I did not see that coming. But yeah, Us, very, very good movie. Next movie we got here is Wonder. Another wholesome movie. Another sort of like inspiring, uplifting tale. It's pretty much about this kid who doesn't look like everyone else. He has some sort of disease, so he looks the way he does, and kids make fun of him. But he gets past that, and because of this kid, the other people in his life are also affected. I believe they also go into the sister story. They also go into the parents' storyline and everything like that. So you see how this kid affects everyone around him, and it's in a good way. It's obviously like not in like a negative way. So yeah, this is a very wholesome film that I highly recommend watching. If you need a feel good, watch this movie, Wonder. Next movie we got here is Yesterday. So imagine if everyone in the world forgot about the Beatles except you. So that's pretty much what this movie's about. I haven't watched it yet. That's all I pretty much know about this movie. I hear that it is fantastic though. So I wonder on how that sort of plot line pans out. Next movie, or should I say the last movie we got here. Actually, I do have a couple more because I have these on the side for my own personal watching. But anyways, Zombieland. So this is a movie about the zombie apocalypse, but it's funny, it's wacky. It is very much about the characters, but not in like a heartwarming way. In a heartwarming way. There are definitely some very cute and sort of like wholesome moments, but for the most part, it's 100% about like the action and sort of like the comedy aspect. So, but yeah, it's good. Zombieland 2, however, definitely came a little late and wasn't as good as I would have hoped, but I think that it is still a worthwhile watch. If you watch the first one and you want to see more, Zombieland 2 is definitely up there to check out. All right, so these movies I have on the side because I want to watch them at some point, hopefully within the next 3 months. So we got is Searching. So this is a movie that I saw in theaters, but I want to rewatch it again because this is just such a good movie. So pretty much this is about this this guy who lost his daughter, and the entire movie is shot through screens. So it's sort of like a found footage sort of movie. So everything you see in this movie is either on a computer screen, a phone screen. That's pretty much everything. And because of that, it makes the movie very interesting. And the story that it tells of him trying to find who sort of like kidnapped his daughter, or like what happened to his daughter, and like where is she, like how can he find her. And he sort of goes through a lot of lengths to sort of go and find her. And it is very much a inspiring movie, and a very suspenseful one, as both of these quotes put it. Next movie we got here is Ratchet and Clank. I have not watched this movie, despite me being a huge Ratchet and Clank fan. But yeah, this is a video game movie from the Ratchet and Clank games, and they sort of have this movie to retell the story of Ratchet and Clank. But yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I hear that it is okay. That's all I've heard. So next movie we got here is Tully. This is a movie with Charlie's, what's her name, from Long Shot, and I believe she is a mother, or soon to be mother, and it's good. That's all I know. That's all I really know about this movie. I remember watching trailers for this in theaters and saying to myself, I should probably watch that movie, but I don't think there were any showings in my area or something like that, or maybe I just missed out on it. But I definitely want to watch this movie because I hear that it is very, very good. Mission Impossible Fallout. This is probably the best Mission Impossible film from my understanding. I mean, it's an action movie. It's Mission Impossible. What else can you expect? But I hear that this movie is very, very good, so I kind of want to watch it. But yeah, that's why it is on the side and in the pile for that. Tenet. This is a movie that came out during the sort of like pandemic era, so I didn't watch it in theaters, but I heard that it was a very, very good theater experience. But you will not know what is going on, apparently, from my understanding. Even like some of the actors, I believe Robert Pattinson, he is in this movie, and as he was filming, he was like, I don't know what's going on. So, I am very much eager to watch this movie. I believe that this movie is actually like kind of long, so I definitely have to set some time aside to actually watch it. But yeah, I am very, very much interested to see how Tenet shapes up. Minari, a movie that is very, very good, apparently, just because of the sort of Academy nominations, but also this is a all Asian cast once again, so I want to see how well this is. Steven Yeun, I know him from the Walking Dead stuff, so I want to see him in a role where people say that he is nothing less than masterful. So yeah, I don't know what the storyline is about or anything like that, but I'm sure that I can relate to this movie to a certain extent, so cannot wait to watch that. Dunkirk. This is a movie that came out whichever year, 2017, 2018, something like that, and I just didn't have time to watch it. Like, there were just so many great movies coming out, and this is one of the ones that I just happened to skip out on. But a lot of people say that this is pretty good, but I've also heard some people say that they didn't like it, which is fair enough. But I am very, very eager to see how Dunkirk shapes up in my eyes, so we'll see that. And then the last movie we actually have here before we get into the Marvel stuff, Disney stuff, etc. Blade Runner 2049. This is a movie that a lot of people say is good, but it is very, very long, which is why I haven't watched it yet and why it's been on my backlog for a number of years now. But yeah, I've never watched Blade Runner, so I have no idea how it shapes up compared to its predecessor, but I'm interested to see on how this movie pans out, because it has Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. Like, where could you go wrong with that? So there's that. All right, so next we're going to do the Disney/Pixar movies. So first we're going to do is Big Hero 6. So I remember watching this the first time, and I thought it was all right. I mean, when it comes to Disney animated CG films, they aren't all that great. But this one, it's okay. I know that we actually recently rewatched this during one of my vacations before the whole pandemic happened. And I was having fun watching it again. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's pretty much about this kid who finds Baymax, and Baymax was created by his brother, and superheroes, stuff like that. So yeah, it's funny. There's action. There's some heartfelt moments. It's it's a Disney movie, you know. There's not going to be anything sort of like mind-blowing spectacular, but yeah, it was all right. I think that some people give this movie more flack than it really deserves in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Coco, oh my god, this movie, I saw it with Movie Pass, and this is a fantastic movie. Holy moly, I did not expect it to be as good as it was, and yeah, it is just superb. It's pretty much about this kid who goes into this sort of like world with like his ancestors and his sort of other family members, and he sort of discovers the real meaning of family and sort of like tradition. And yeah, it is also just like beautifully animated. Holy moly, like Pixar really like outdid themselves with this one in my opinion. Like, oh my god. Yeah, this is a great Pixar film, and if you haven't watched it yet, honestly, like really check it out. Next movies we got here is Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. So Finding Nemo, I mean, it's a classic, you know, like Finding Nemo, pretty much about this dad trying to find Nemo. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I can really say other than that. But yeah, you know, it's a classic Pixar film. If you haven't watched it yet, like just watch it. Honestly, I am kind of tired of Nemo, but you know, when they announced that they were making Finding Dory, I was like, okay, fine. You know, we got a sequel to Finding Nemo. Let's see how it pans out. And it's not that bad. I think that, you know, we don't really need a sequel to Finding Nemo, especially years and years later. But yeah, instead of Finding Nemo, now we are trying to find Dory. And yeah, that's pretty much the movie. New characters, new plot, new areas, sort of thing. You know, it's fun. Next movie we got here, Frozen. You know, probably Disney's best sort of CG film, just because of how much success that they've gotten from this. I mean, the Let It Go song, the merch, the amount of kids that actually love Frozen, which, you know, I don't blame them, because, you know, Frozen's great. I mean, you know, like as a movie, like it's a lot of fun. I think that the story that it tells is you know, very age appropriate and very much I guess how should I say this? A very good lesson to learn, if you will, you know, sort of thing about family and tradition and all of that other stuff. So, you know, I still hate Olaf. I hate Olaf. I cannot stand Olaf. But Frozen 2, you know, they try to replicate that sort of success in the sequel, but it just didn't land. You know, there were no like outstanding songs, and like the story that it was trying to tell wasn't all that great either. So, but, you know, Frozen 1 is good. Next one we got here, Inside Out, talking about your emotions and actually feeling things, you know. You can't always be happy. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be, you know, shy, whatever, you know. It's good to express emotions, and that's pretty much what this film is trying to tell you, you know. Like, you get to see how inside this one little girl, about all of her emotions and everything like that. So, yeah, it's a fun movie. Definitely not one of the best Pixar films, but definitely worth watching, in my opinion. Next one we got here is Monsters University. I don't have Monsters Inc., but I have Monsters University. This is actually my last purchase from Toys R Us before they closed. This was literally the last thing I bought from my local Toys R Us because they had nothing else. But yeah, Monsters University. This is a movie where I believe it's before Monsters Inc., so it's pretty much about their college years. So I hear that this movie is actually not that great. So one day I will definitely pop it in and see how good or how bad it is. So there's that. Next one we got here is The Incredibles. This is a classic Pixar movie, pretty much about superheroes, a super family, if you will. And yeah, it's great. That's all I can really say. I mean, you know, you got Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, Elastigirl, or should I say Elastigirl is Miss Incredible. You got Violet, Dash, Jack, you know, all of the family members, and they're great. It's super duper fun. I really enjoyed watching Incredibles again more recently, just because after I watched Incredibles 2 in theaters, which Incredibles 2, this might be a hot take, but I actually liked Incredibles 2 a little bit more than Incredibles 1, but I might have to rewatch them both back to back to see exactly how my opinions, you know, fare out. But yeah, the Incredibles movies are super duper fun, and I really, really enjoy them. But, you know, I don't have Incredibles 2 on Blu-ray yet. But one day I will definitely get them because, you know, that Disney tax, I'm not willing to pay it. But anyways, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. This is a Christmas Halloween movie, which is kind of weird, and it's also animated. And I haven't watched it yet. I hear that this is very, very good. One of my friend slash neighbors, he is a huge fan of this property. So, yeah, you know, I'm definitely gonna have to watch it one of these days. Next ones we got here. Let me just take them all out because this is a big stack. So we got the Toy Story trilogy and then Toy Story 4. So we got Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 in these Best Buy Steelbooks. So Toy Story 1, the classic. You know, I remember watching Toy Story 1 and 2 as a kid and deeply falling in love with Buzz Lightyear and Woody and loving the stories of, you know, how these toys come to life and, you know, they go on adventures and, you know, how they interact with humans and all of this other stuff. So, yeah, it's great. I think that out of these two, I definitely like Toy Story 1 more. You know, there are definitely people that love Toy Story 2 more, which is fine. But, you know, out of these two, Toy Story 1 is by far my favorite. And then we got Toy Story 3, which I saw in theaters with my best friend Damien and his family, and it was very, very fun. I really enjoyed watching this movie because, you know, it brought me back to when I was a kid, you know, watching Toy Story for the first time on VHS, and now we got Toy Story 3 in theaters, and that was super, super fun to watch. I really enjoy the goddamn bear. I forget his name. But yeah, you know, seeing them go to that sort of preschool and having them sort of realize that, hey, you know, maybe it is better to just be in a box for Andy and be there for Andy and not, you know, be played with and actually tortured and messed with and all of this other stuff. But yeah, Toy Story 3, very heartfelt. Might be my favorite within the entire series. I'm not entirely sure, but Toy Story 3, I definitely have a lot of fond memories of watching it in theaters, and I really do enjoy the film. I also have another Blu-ray of Toy Story 3. I bought this at a thrift store, and the copy was not all that great. So, like, literally, it would, like, freeze in certain parts. But that's just what happens when you buy stuff at a thrift store. And then we got Toy Story 4, which I bought during Black Friday, I think, not last year, but the year before. Or maybe even 3 years ago. Anyways, Toy Story 4. This is honestly, like, it's not bad, honestly. Like, it is not a bad Toy Story movie. I think that the story that it is trying to tell is very good. And I think the lesson that it is trying to tell kids as well was, like, pretty good, you know. Sort of, you know, I don't want to really get too deep into it because I don't want to spoil it because I've done that a couple of times throughout this video. Hopefully I've edited those spoilers out. But yeah, Toy Story 4, I think that the lesson that it's telling, you know, sort of Woody's arc by the end of this movie was very, very appropriate for his character, in my opinion. I think that some people might not find that, but honestly, I really do like this movie, and I like that, you know, they were still able to create another Toy Story movie without having Andy there and having, like, these new characters and everything like that with Bonnie and all of that stuff. So yeah, Toy Story 4 I really, really, really did enjoy. Next movie we got here is the Wreck-It Ralph duology. So we got Wreck-It Ralph, the original. If you like video games, obviously these movies will enhance your experience with this one because there's a lot of video game cameos, and it's great. It's fantastic. I really enjoy the sort of, like, video game aspect, obviously, but also, like, the story of Vanellope and Ralph and sort of how they come together and be friends and everything like that. So great. And then Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph breaks the internet, a lot more about internet culture and sort of, like, a lot of other things, but there's still, like, video game stuff in here as well. But the lesson that this story is trying to tell as well is good. I almost spoiled it again. The sort of lesson that Ralph and Vanellope go through is very, very good, and I think that at the time I was actually going through this myself, and, you know, seeing that sort of play out within this movie was very, very appropriate and made me realize that, you know, like, it's all gonna be okay, you know. So there is that. And then the last Disney movie we have here is Zootopia. So yeah, this is a very good movie. I mean, you know, it's pretty much about this girl, or should I say this bunny, Judy Hopps, and she is a cop, and she befriends this wolf, and they are herbivores versus carnivores, and that's sort of a thing that's going on there with the whole like you know uh, you know plant eaters versus meat eaters, etc., etc. So yeah, there's that sort of social commentary within this movie, but also like it's just a good movie. I think that the way that they play in with the animal aspect is very smartly done. So yeah, it's been years since I've seen it. I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters, but this is definitely a very, very, very good sort of Disney movie that is actually CG. So yeah. All right, next we're gonna get into is TV shows. So first we got here is Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. So Avatar: The Last Airbender, what can I say that hasn't already been said about this series already? This is a great Nickelodeon cartoon show, and literally all of the seasons are great, where pretty much it's a series about this kid who got frozen. He's pretty much the chosen one, but he got frozen in an iceberg, and the world has gone to pretty much trash ever since then, and he wakes up 100 years later, and now he has to save the world, and he has to learn all four of the elements of he already knows air, so he needs to learn earth, fire, and water. So yeah, and you go on that journey with him. You get to see him meet new characters, meet new friends, and maybe even see some old friends. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, there are some episodes that are better than others, but the overall story of Avatar: The Last Airbender is fantastic and great. And I cannot stress enough on how good the series actually is. So yeah, Legend of Korra, however, leaves a little bit to be desired. They definitely did not know that they were going to do, I believe, 3 or 4 seasons with this show. They had no idea that they were going to do as much as they were. I believe it is, yeah, actually 4 seasons. Holy moly, more than Avatar. So yeah, they had no idea that they were going to do 4 seasons, because I think they only thought that they were going to do 1 season, which is why season 1 feels very like self-contained. And then they got greenlit for more seasons, and then they were like, well, shit, we gotta keep the story going. Goddamn. So they, came up with more stories, came up with more lore for the Avatar series, and yeah, it's a little all over the place. It's definitely not all that great. Definitely not as good as Avatar. I think that if the studio and the team behind this series knew that they were going to get 4 seasons, they definitely would have planned out stuff a little bit more, and definitely would have done things a little bit differently, because Korra starts out with 3 elements out of the 4 already. Like, she knows every single element except air, and book 1 is all about her learning air. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, so like that's the end of that. And then suddenly we got 3 more seasons, and like, how is that all gonna fit in, sort of thing. So yeah, Legend of Korra could have been better. I think that if they knew that they were gonna get 4 seasons, and if they actually had the budget to do 4 seasons, because some of the animation, oof, it's not that great. So, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm not gonna, sort of toast it that much. Next ones we got here is Rick and Morty season 1, 2, and 3. I got these as gifts, and then I bought season 4. And I haven't watched season 4. This is still sealed, but I've watched seasons 1 through 3. Season 1 and 2 is pretty good, and then season 3 is also good. But I definitely stopped my interest in Rick and Morty just because of the fan base. It is so hard to watch the show without me like sort of knowing like the goddamn fans of this series are like super duper cringe. And I hate that. Like, if I want to be a Rick and Morty fan, people are probably gonna think that I'm cringe, sort of thing. Like, I don't know. It's just like a me thing, kind of. But I know that they're on like season 5 or 6 or something like that. So, but I definitely need to watch those episodes and this Blu-ray, because I already bought it. So yeah, Rick and Morty, it's pretty much about this guy named Rick, and he does a lot of science stuff, and it's funny, and it's wacky, and it's crazy. And yeah, I think the first 2 seasons are like really, really solid. I think that if you like season 1, obviously jump into season 2. And if you don't know if you're gonna like the series or not, watch like the first 3 episodes, and then if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not, sort of thing. So, but yeah, Rick and Morty, it's a great series. It's just that the fan base is a little weird and a little out there. So there's that. Next up we got is CW's The Flash season 1. I bought this because it was only $10. So yeah, I love CW's The Flash from season 1 and 2. Season 3 is a little iffy. Season 4 gets a little better, and then season 5 I stopped. I watched like the first couple of episodes of season 5, and then I just couldn't get into it because it was just so bad. And like the fact that they're still going with the show is crazy to me because I feel like it should have ended a while ago, but they just keep making episodes. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good show if you want to get into the character of the Flash, and I think that the way that they implement Barry Allen and everything like that, I think the actor who plays as Barry Allen, I forget his name, Grant Gust or something like that. He's great. He is Barry Allen pretty much, and yeah, it just sucks that the show has not gotten better since season 2, in my opinion. So, I mean, some people may argue that it got worse after season 1, and, you know, season 2 was more of the same, which is true. But, you know, I think that the show has not really, you know, found itself again ever since season 2. But it is what it is. There's not really much I could really do about it because I'm just not going to watch it. Next ones we got here is Stranger Things. I got the sort of like physical versions from Target. I've only opened this one. I've kept season 2 sealed. But yeah, this is pretty much the series on Blu-ray, which is kind of cool. And then there's some other extra stuff in there, and they are VHSs, so that is very, very cool as well. But they should definitely make a Stranger Things 3 one. I would definitely buy that. But yeah, Stranger Things as a series. I mean, like, what can I say that hasn't already been said? This is a fantastic show. Maybe it is a coming of age sort of story, but it's pretty much about these kids in the small town sort of trying to solve like this sort of weird stuff that's going on in their town, and they're pretty much trying to find their best friend. Like he goes home and then like he goes missing. So yeah, and then season 2 picks up where season 1 left off and sort of explores further, and then season 3 once again does the sort of same thing. You know, it continues on, and then cannot wait for Stranger Things 4 because Netflix has been lacking in content, honestly. So there's that. We got 2 more shows to talk about here. First one, I'm going to be gushing about this for a little bit. The Spectacular Spider-Man, the complete series. I hate that I have to say that because this show should have gotten a season 3 and a season 4, etc., etc. But it got caught up in the Disney deal, so it could not continue on. So that sucks. Poor timing, because this is the best adaptation of Spider-Man to date across movies and TV shows. Like, the way they were able, because they literally planned the Spider-Man story from start to finish while also implementing not just from the original comics, but also from like the modern comics. So like, for example, with Venom, because Venom was a 90s sort of Spider-Man villain, and because he is very popular today because Venom's cool, this show implements Eddie Brock from episode 1. So you get to see Eddie Brock, who he is, and you get to see that character development before he becomes Venom. And the way that they do every single villain within the show, from Mysterio to the Green Goblin, like, it all is fantastic, and I love it. And I can't believe it ended at season 2, because this show would have been, and actually even after only 2 seasons, it is the best Spider-Man adaptation to date, just because of how smartly that they were able to plan everything out, the way that they were able to tell the Peter Parker story and Spider-Man story on how when Peter Parker does something good, Spider-Man suffers for it, and then when Spider-Man does something good, Peter Parker suffers for it. It is just so good. And yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Like, watch this show. If you are a Spider-Man fan and you haven't watched the show, just watch it. It is goddamn amazing. I'm not sure how much this Blu-ray set is now. I'm pretty sure it's kind of hard to come by these days, but I'm so glad I bought this when I did, because I just love this show, and I cannot wait to continue rewatching this over and over again, because this is by bar none the best adaptation of Spider-Man to date across movies, TVs, everything. Like, literally the best adaptation of Spider-Man outside of the comics. So that's pretty high praise, if I do say so myself. Last series we got here is Star Wars The Clone Wars. So we have every single season that is available on Blu-ray. So we got season 1, then we got season 2, then we got season 3, season 4, season 5, And then this is season 6, which was exclusively on Netflix, and it is titled The Lost Missions. But yeah, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This is a anthology series, so storylines sort of jump all over the place. But as a person that honestly loves this sort of like timeline era of Star Wars with Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul, like holy moly, this show is goddamn amazing. Oh my god, I remember watching this on Disney Plus because I wanted to watch the final season, but I didn't want to just jump into the final season. I wanted to see the character development of every single character from Anakin to Obi-Wan to Ahsoka. I wanted to see all of these characters grow as the show went on, and it was all well worth it because once I got to the final season, holy moly, the final season is great. But yeah, Anakin, oh my god, I already loved Anakin because I just love the sort of like edgelord characters in like anything. But Anakin, oh my god, he's great. Obi-Wan's great. Darth Maul's great. Yeah, the storylines the show tells outside of the movies for Star Wars, great, fantastic. Ahsoka as a character, oh my god, what they do to her in season 5, her storyline, I believe in season 5, her story is like the one of the last ones. It's great. It's fantastic. I cannot praise the show enough because this is one of the Star Wars things that is genuinely fantastic. And yeah, I love it. I loved it so much. I bought the Blu-ray set at pretty much the height of these prices. So if you were to buy them today on like eBay or something, you would definitely pay a little bit less than what I did. But yeah, I do not regret buying these on Blu-ray because now if I want to, I can watch these whenever I want. I know that they aren't going to take them down on Disney Plus or anything like that, but you never know, you know? So have these on Blu-ray. Hopefully they print the final season on Blu-ray because I would love to have that on Blu-ray, maybe in like 4K or something like that because I just love that season. The final season is just so good. You know, there are some storylines in there because it is still a anthology series. There are still some storylines within the final season that aren't as strong as like, you know, everything that's going on during Order 66. So, but yeah. All right, so now we're going to talk about DC movies. So this is going to be a mix of the DCEU or like live action stuff and also the DC cartoon movies. So we got Aquaman. When I saw this in theaters, I thought that it was pretty fun, and I'm glad that a lot of people agree with me or disagree with me on that because this is a good sort of like, how do I say this, like solo film for Aquaman because, you know, Aquaman is usually like the punchline of like everything, but I think this origin story movie was actually like not that bad. You know, you get to see how Aquaman came to be, you get to see his sort of world and his sort of rules that his sort of his people play by, so it is kind of interesting. It is kind of cool to see all of that play out. But yeah, Jason Momoa is obviously great as Aquaman, and I hope to see him more in other stuff as this character because honestly, he is Aquaman. Okay, we're getting to these movies pretty quickly. The Christopher Nolan trilogy of Batman films, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. I mean, Batman Begins is just great. Like, this is a fantastic origin story for Batman. Like, they really go through everything for the character and sort of modernize him like very, very well. And then the Dark Knight introduces the Joker and Two-Face and all of that other stuff. And yeah, you know, Heath Ledger, oh my god, great Joker. And like, it's gonna be super hard for anyone to really one up his performance because he was just so good in the role, and the movie itself is just fantastic. You know, like, this movie's phenomenal. One of the best superhero movies of all time, bar none, like 100%. And then The Dark Knight Rises, you know, it's pretty much about Batman rising up again as the Dark Knight, and we get Catwoman and everything else, and the sort of end of this Christopher Nolan trilogy of Batman films. But yeah, you know, it's been a while since I've watched this movie. I don't think it's as good as The Dark Knight, but I know that some people like it more than the Dark Knight. So maybe Rises will be even better than I remember it, or maybe just as good as I remember, which is, you know, it's a good movie, but it's not, you know, as great. Definitely my least favorite within this trilogy. But, you know, that doesn't mean that it's a bad movie by any means. Batman Ninja. Supposedly there are 2 different movies in this one Blu-ray. So you have the the English voices and then you have the Japanese voices. So I watched it with the English voices, and it was pretty good. I mean, like for a Batman anime with Batman in feudal Japan, with his villains also within that setting, it's pretty cool. And then there's also a film with the Japanese voices that is a completely different film. So I haven't watched that one yet, but Batman Ninja, I think that Batman as a anime, that's a pretty cool concept, and I think that it was executed pretty well here. Because they actually did get sort of like Japanese animators and Japanese voice actors and everything like that to actually do this project, so that is pretty cool. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. I hate this movie. Oh my god. I don't know what it is. I don't know what people see in Zack Snyder's vision for these characters, but I don't like it. I'm not exactly sure like what is going on like with these characters. You know, Batman has a gun. He's like killing people. When I saw this movie in theaters and like the climactic fight between Batman v Superman and why it ended, I was literally in disbelief. I was literally looking at my friend and I was just like, what just happened? Like, no way this is happening right now. And I even watched the Ultimate Cut, which had extra scenes and sort of extra stuff to sort of, I guess, like flesh out certain scenes, you know, pretty much 30 extra minutes of footage not seen in theaters, and that didn't help. That honestly just made the movie worse in my opinion, because it just made the movie longer. So I don't know, I just don't see it. I haven't watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, so maybe that might change my opinion of him, but yeah, I don't know, I don't see it. Batman versus the Ninja Turtles. I know that this is based on a comic book, but I haven't watched this, and I haven't read the comic book. But I heard that this adaptation is actually kind of fun, so definitely gonna have to watch that one of these days. Batman: The Killing Joke. I know that this movie wasn't all that good just because of the first part of the movie isn't based on The Killing Joke. It is actually like a brand new sort of story or whatever. Like they actually bring in like new material to sort of flesh out certain parts of the story before they get into the actual like Killing Joke storyline, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, I haven't read the comic, but I could definitely tell that that first part of the movie was not in the comic. But yeah, I think that this movie was not that bad. If you take out the first part of the movie, it would be pretty good. But other than that, I think that, you know, it's all right. It's okay. Moving on. Speaking of the Joker, we have Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. And this is great. This is a fantastic movie. Oh, my God. You know, we live in a society, and, you know, having a Joker origin story is kind of weird because Joker doesn't really have a defined origin story that really is like cemented within, I guess, pop culture, but I guess now he does, and this movie is great. I honestly really liked it when I saw it in theaters, and I wonder what they're gonna do in a sequel, because I know that they're gonna do another one or something like that. So I'm not entirely sure. I honestly wish that they just kept it as a one-off, but you know, when you make a lot of money on a movie and you want to do another one, and you can, you might as well do another one, right? Or not, you know, it's up to you. But honestly, I wish that they just left it alone, but we are getting a sequel to Joker. Justice League, Zack Snyder and what's his name, Josh Whedon, sort of a collaboration sort of movie, which is a bit weird, and because of that, it sort of falls apart. And also because they did a Justice League movie before they did any of the origin movies for most of these characters. So yeah, I mean, when I saw it in theaters, I had fun with it. I enjoyed it, you know, seeing superheroes do superhero things with all of them working together, but also not working together, and seeing Superman come back, because during the promotion for this movie, you did not see Superman whatsoever. I didn't notice the sort of like CG on like his upper lip. I didn't notice that at all, I'm gonna be honest. But that's apparently a problem. Maybe I'll notice it on a rewatch, but yeah, and I could definitely tell which scenes were done by Josh Whedon just because of the sort of like funny, light-hearted tone to it. But yeah, like this movie's definitely a mess, and definitely not the version that people wanted for Justice League, which is why the Zack Snyder cut came out, and that has been doing well for a lot of people. And yeah, but this movie itself, it's fun, but it's not good by any means. I will say that. Man of Steel. This movie's so boring. Oh my God. I cannot believe how boring this movie is. I literally fell asleep at like the last act because I was trying to stay awake for like most of it. And then I just gave up. I literally fell asleep, and then I woke up and I was like, am I gonna rewatch that? No. I put the Blu-ray away and just tucked it away. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Superman as a character, he should be a lot more interesting, and he should have a bigger presence in pop culture today. But DC has not been doing a good job of sort of portraying Superman on the big screen all that well. And it's not Henry Cavill's fault or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. They're just not nailing it with these sort of superhero movies and how Superman is supposed to be told. But that could just be me. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not like a huge Superman fan either. So, but that's just because like he hasn't been a very prominent sort of character within my childhood and me growing up and things like that. So, but there's that. Shazam! This is a fantastic movie. Oh my god, this was so much fun to watch. I had a lot of fun watching this movie just because it's pretty much about these kids, and one of them becomes a superhero, and you know you get to see them figure out what it means to be a hero and what it means to be a family and things like that. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think that the way that they play into the sort of like other sort of DC EU stuff, you know, because they do mention the other heroes, because one of the kids in this movie is a huge fan of them. So, you know, seeing how all of that plays out, and yeah, it's fun. It's very cute. It's very wholesome, but also like a very good superhero movie with a lot of action. Got some Teen Titans Go movies. So we got Teen Titans Go to the movies and Teen Titans Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. I haven't watched this one yet, but I heard that this one is pretty good. And then we got Teen Titans Go to the movies, which I'm not a Teen Titans Go fan. I'm going to be honest. I really do not like Teen Titans Go just because that's not the Teen Titans that I grew up with. You know, I don't view them as like the sort of kitty-go-lucky, you know, haha, funny characters. I very much view them as like the much more serious, you know, 2005 sort of cartoon show tone that they showed us. But this movie's actually kind of fun. I think that the message and the sort of overall story and overall plot that they give in this movie is a lot of fun. And I think that because of that, they were able to make the sequel, Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go or whatever. So, but this movie is it's actually a lot of fun. And I think that if you're able to put your hatred towards Teen Titans Go to the side, you can enjoy this movie just like I did. So, or maybe not, you know, it's up to you, obviously. But yeah, Teen Titans Go to the movies, it was a lot better than I expected. The Lego Batman movie, this is a love message to Batman, like 100%. The amount of references and the amount of homages that they bring in for this Lego movie, for the character, is so good. And I love it. It is so much fun. I watched this in theaters, and seeing everything all sort of come together and everything play out with, you know, this Lego Batman story was a lot of fun. I'm gonna be honest, and I love it. And this is a Lego movie that I honestly wouldn't mind seeing a sequel for. But you know, maybe they'll do other Lego Batman or Lego DC properties in the future, because I think that would be a lot of fun and very, very cool to see. Last movie we got here is Wonder Woman. This is definitely the best, one of the best DC EU films by far. This, along with Shazam and Joker, and hopefully the new Batman movie as well. But yeah, the original Wonder Woman, it is very, very good. This is a great origin story for Wonder Woman, and sort of how Wonder Woman came to be, and how she all played into World War II and everything like that, and sort of her romance with the pilot or whatever, I forget his name. But yeah, you know, and then when Wonder Woman 1970 or 1984 came out, you know, it's not that great. You know, I get the message, and I get sort of like what they were trying to go for, but you know, it just didn't stick the landing for me personally. But Wonder Woman, you know, it's a fantastic film. Fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. I'm going to try to blaze through these just real quick, because I have every single Marvel MCU film up until Endgame. So I don't have Black Widow or Shang-Chi or anything like that. So we got Iron Man. Fantastic movie. I think that this is a lot of people's favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe film, and rightfully so, because this movie does a lot of things right, and it is also a fantastic start to the MCU. We got The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, and I watched this movie in theaters, and I loved it. I honestly really enjoyed Edward Norton within the role. I was very young when this movie came out, so I was unaware of Edward Norton's sort of sort of problem within Hollywood, him as an actor and sort of as a person within Hollywood. There's a reason why he's not in a lot of films. And if you look into his history with other films and things like that, you'll understand why. But him in this movie, I honestly really liked it. I think that the movie itself could have been a little bit better. But I think as a origin Hulk movie, I think that they did what they could, and I think that it was not that bad. Iron Man 2, definitely the worst within the Iron Man sort of trilogy. But we get introduced to Black Widow, and we get to see Tony sort of figure out a better arc reactor and things like that. It's still a fun movie. Like, it is still an Iron Man movie, which is why it's not like the worst MCU movie by far. But it is still, not that great. Thor, another fish out of water movie, if you will. You get to see Thor come to Earth, and he has no idea what the hell is going on because he's from a magical world that is goddamn Asgard. So seeing him in this scenario and in this world is very interesting and kind of fun, kind of cute. But then again, the movie itself is not that great. The goddamn Dutch angles are very, very jarring, and how the movie plays out is it's a little weird. Next movie we got here is Captain America, the First Avenger, the origin story for Captain America and Chris Evans's portrayal of the character. And it's pretty good. I think that the second half of the movie kind of falls apart because a lot of stuff starts happening and it kind of goes all over the place. But up until then, when we get to see Steve Rogers and sort of see him wanting to be a soldier so goddamn much, and when he actually finally gets his chance to be one, he is a soldier. So there's that. And then we got the first Avengers movie. I mean, what can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? This is a fantastic movie. Josh Whedon, he did a great job with this one. I think being able to bring all of these characters together for this movie and sort of have them come together was great and fantastic. And yeah, I mean, if you weren't in the theaters watching this in 2012, you really did miss out, because that was a movie theater experience, and I really, really enjoyed watching it in theaters with my brother and my dad. So yeah, the Avengers. Next one we got here is Iron Man 3. This is the best Iron Man in the trilogy. You cannot deny that, honestly. JK, have your own opinion if you will. But Iron Man 3 is so, so good. I mean, Shane Black does a fantastic job directing this movie. I think that the way the action is done in this movie is like no other. I think that every single time there is an action piece, there is purpose to it. There's a reason why the action is happening. It's not just because action needs to happen, sort of thing, And the story that Tony Stark goes through within this movie post Avengers, he's having PTSD, and the Mandarin villain character and everything like that, sort of like modern terrorism. And yeah, like this is a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed this movie, and when I first saw it in theaters, it was like a super late showing, and I came out of it, I loved it. I really, really loved it. And I thought I was crazy when I thought that this was the best Iron Man movie for so many years. And then, much more recently, people have come to their senses and been like, hey, Iron Man 3 is the best Iron Man. And I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, it is. Next one we got here is Thor, The Dark World. I don't really have to say much about that movie. It is not that great. Captain America, The Winter Soldier. This is still my favorite MCU movie by far. This is such a good movie. It is a spy espionage movie where Captain America is trying to figure out what happened to S.H.I.E.L.D. after Hydra has infiltrated, and, the collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's working with Black Widow, and Bucky Barnes comes back as the Winter Soldier, and a lot of stuff happens, and it's great. There's a lot of great action. There's a lot of good story moments, a lot of good set pieces, and I love it. This is what made me love Captain America. I'm going to be honest, this movie. So next one we got here is Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, James Gunn, man. Like, James Gunn. The fact that he was able to bring all of these characters into the MCU and in such a movie that was loved by many and still is loved by many. This is a fantastic movie, and I cannot believe that he was able to pull it off. A goddamn raccoon, a talking tree, a couple of alien characters as well, or should I say a couple of other alien characters, and then you got Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. It is great. It is fantastic. I love it. Next movie we got here is Avengers Age of Ultron, where they finally come together again. And honestly, I kind of like this movie. I know a lot of people will say that this is the worst Avengers movie, which is true. It is true. When you compare it to the other Avengers movies, this is by far the worst one. But it is still a fun movie. I really like it. I love the scene where they're like at the party and they're sort of just like talking to each other and just like shooting the shit. Vision and I think Ultron like as a villain was kind of cool. But yeah, there are problems with this movie, but I still have a lot of fun watching it, and I still enjoy what this movie did for the MCU and for the Avengers. Ant-Man. This is one of my favorite MCU movies just because I love Ant-Man and Paul Rudd's Ant-Man especially because he is great. I mean, this is a fantastic origin movie. Like, this is, it sort of does the thing at the end with, like, a sort of evil Ant-Man, kind of thing. But I really like this movie. It's very funny too. So, that obviously helps. But yeah, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man was something that I did not expect to love as much as I did within this movie. So Captain America Civil War, also known as Avengers 2.5, if you will. Yeah, this is a great movie. They were able to introduce Black Panther, Spider-Man, but at the same time have this conflict between Captain America and Iron Man, and everything that happens within this movie affects the rest of the MCU up until Avengers, and you'd see the payout then. But yeah, Captain America Civil War, it is a lot of fun. I think that this is not the best Captain America film because it's kind of hard to beat the Winter Soldier, but this was a lot of fun watching in theaters, seeing all of these heroes come together and sort of, fight it out against each other was kind of dope. So next movie we got here is Doctor Strange. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I love him in the Avengers movies, and I loved him in Spider-Man No Way Home. But I think within his movies, or within his own solo movie, he was not that great, or maybe the movie itself was just not that great. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a couple years since I watched this movie, and now with the perspective of, everything that he's done within the MCU so far, maybe I'll watch it again and maybe I'll like it, but yeah, I'm not too fond of Doctor Strange 1. Next movie we got here is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Personally, I don't like it as much as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, but this movie does do a lot of great things for these characters and sort of advances their stories and has a lot of heartfelt and touching moments that I will not deny this movie for. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. I really liked how James Gunn made a sequel to this movie in the way that he did. So Thor Ragnarok, I mean, this is like no-brainer, sort of like the best MCU Thor movie because it reinvented the character, Taika Waititi, he did a lot of different things for this movie, and it is pretty much a comedy at the end of the day. Like, this is 100% a comedy movie. There is some action, but a lot of this movie is based on why it's good is because it's really funny. So yeah, but this is a great movie and a great way to sort of end the Thor trilogy. So yeah. Next movie we got here is Black Panther. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But yeah, this was a great film. Honestly, I really liked watching this movie in theaters just because of the story that they were telling with the Black Panther character and sort of like the Black Panther world and the mythos of Wakanda and everything like that. Yeah, it really brought everything together before we got to Avengers Infinity War, which I will talk about next. But yeah, seeing Black Panther, take on his own sort of story and his own quote unquote origin story, if you will, was kind of neat and kind of fun. So now we got Avengers Infinity War, and yeah, I mean, seeing everything all come together, seeing this sort of storyline finally come to fruition, this was great. Finally seeing Thanos in action and seeing him as an actual threat to these characters, all of these characters that we've been watching for however many years, and now they're all here, and it is great. It is fantastic. I honestly like Endgame a little bit more, which I'll get into a little bit later, but that's just because of the fan service and everything like that. But yeah, watching this movie in theaters and seeing that ending for the first time was something else. That was insane. So yeah, Avengers Infinity War, definitely the much more solid Avengers film out of the two, but definitely worth watching, or should I say was an experience when I saw it in theaters. I love Ant-Man, but I hate Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie is so bad. Oh my god. What they do in this movie, what they do to my boy Ant-Man, they treat him as a dummy. And like Ant-Man, you know, he is the comic relief character, but he's not stupid, right? Like they they show that he's smart with an endgame, but in this movie he's just played for laughs, and the storylines are just like not that great. The way it all resolves in the end, I'm just like, how did that happen? Like that doesn't really make all that much sense, but it is what it is. It's whatever. It is funny, I will say that. Like some of the jokes do land, but I'm just like, man, they could have done so much better with the Ant-Man sequel. Captain Marvel. Honestly, I watched this movie because I thought she was going to be a huge factor with an Endgame, and she ended up being nothing with an Endgame. But for this movie itself, as the origins for Captain Marvel, it's okay. I think that going back in time and going back to like what was it, like the 70s or 80s, to go and see how Captain Marvel all came to be, and how Nick Fury, he lost his eye or whatever. Like that was some cool stuff. But I think the way that it was all executed wasn't to my liking, especially with Nick Fury's eye thing, which, if you know what I'm saying, But yeah, I think that, what's her name? Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, she works. It's just that I think that her movie wasn't all that great. I hope Captain Marvel 2 is better, because I know Miss Marvel is supposed to be in there, and the Miss Marvel Disney Plus show is supposed to play a factor into that, which is looking to be pretty good. So hopefully that the second Captain Marvel movie ends up being good. The last MCU movie that I have here is Avengers Endgame. I haven't talked about the Spider-Man movies because I have a separate Spider-Man section for that, which we will talk about next. But Avengers Endgame. Yes, this is the culmination of everything that the Infinity War saga has brought us, and it was great. It was fantastic. I watched this movie in theaters like 5 or 6 times. I forget exactly how much, but it was definitely at least 4, at most 6. So I watched the movie a lot, because I just loved watching these characters fulfill their final mission and sort of bring down Thanos and restore the world and sort of save it. And yeah, it was great. It was fantastic, seeing everything coming together, seeing the end games for Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, seeing their stories end the way that they did was awesome. And yeah, everything that happens within this movie, I loved it. I loved it. The final battle, the third act, oh my God, beautiful. I loved it. The moments with Captain America, Tony Stark, everything. Like I just love this movie, and I cannot stress that enough, because I watched it so many times in theaters. I kind of burnt myself out, and I haven't watched it in a long time. So maybe one day I'm definitely gonna have to pop this one back in and rewatch it. But this is like a 3-hour movie or something like that. So gonna have to definitely put some time aside to actually sit down and watch this one. But yeah, Avengers Endgame. All right, so let's talk about the Spider-Man movies, because, I didn't talk about them during my MCU talk. So we're just going to go in order in terms of the Spider-Man. So first I'm going to do Tobey, then Andrew, then Tom Holland. So Sam Raimi Spider-Man. We got Spider-Man 1, 3, and then 2. I don't know how I did that. But yeah, the Sam Raimi trilogy. What can I say about these movies that hasn't already been said? Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is fantastic, especially Spider-Man 1 and 2. Spider-Man 1 is a classic. This is how I got introduced to the character, and I recently rewatched all of these movies, or most of them, for my Spider-Man 2 list on my podcast. And Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 is just, it's so good. Like, there are no problems with it whatsoever, as far as I can tell. I mean, the writing's a little cheesy. It might show its age because of that, but it's just so goddamn good. And then we got Spider-Man 2, which was a fantastic follow-up to the first one. Sort of reinforcing that idea of great power comes great responsibility, and also continuing the story of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson, and with the villain of Dr. Octopus. Like, oh my God, the action sequences, the storylines, everything. Like, this movie is awesome, and it may be the best comic book movie ever, but it's definitely up there within top 5 material for sure. And then Spider-Man 3 fumbles a little, I will say, but Sam Raimi behind the camera, you can still tell. I know that he didn't want to do Venom, but the way that he did it for his version of the character was great. It was fine. I think that, if Sam Raimi was able to do his own Spider-Man 3 like the way he wanted to do it, it would have been a fantastic movie. But because there was so much going on and sort of studio interruptions happened here and there, because the studio wanted Venom and like they wanted other things and Sam Raimi didn't want, he just had to follow orders. So that is Spider-Man 3. It is what it is. It's still a great film. I still really like it. It's definitely not as good as the other ones, but it is still a enjoyable watch despite its flaws. All right, next we got Andrew Garfield's, or should I say Mark Webb's Amazing Spider-Man duology, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. This is a retelling of the character with new director, new actors, and it's not that great. There are problems with it. It's not perfect, but Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, they have so much chemistry within these movies. It is kind of hard to not love them within their roles as Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy, respectively. And their interactions within these movies are definitely the highlights. This is a duology that is flawed, but is still worth watching, especially for Spider-Man fans, because they're fun movies to watch. Because I think that seeing how Mark Webb was able to take his version of Spider-Man. I know that Sony wanted to sort of tell the story of like Peter Parker's parents and everything like that, which honestly is the worst aspect of these movies. This is one of the main reasons why these movies don't work that well for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, is because they romanticize the idea of Peter Parker's parents. But for what these movies are, they're still good to some extent. Amazing Spider-Man 2 has the best live-action Spider-Man suit we've seen to date. The Amazing Spider-Man 1 made me cry in theaters when Uncle Ben died. I knew Uncle Ben was going to die, but for some reason, I cried in theaters. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the hell I was going through during that time when I saw this movie, but I cried in theaters. I cried in theaters when I saw Amazing Spider-Man 1 when Uncle Ben died, and I have no shame admitting that. But, Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, he loves the role so much, and you could definitely tell within those movies. Now, we got the Tom Holland movies on Blu-ray that are currently out. So I have Homecoming on Blu-ray, and then I rebought it for 4K because I got the PS5. So 4K, and then I already had this in 4K because I was like future-proofing myself. But also because this cover is a lot better than this cover. So yeah. Anyways, Spider-Man Homecoming. This is a great sort of first adventure we get to see into Spider-Man within the MCU. We don't get the whole origin story with Uncle Ben, but we get to see him live, or it's sort of his day-to-day as Spider-Man after Civil War. So it is kind of interesting to see how that happens and sort of him come into his own and be his own Spider-Man in a way. And I think that because of that, we get to see there's a lot of times within this movie where, he has to sacrifice something as Peter Parker and do something as Spider-Man. And because of that, his life as Peter Parker suffers, just a little bit, maybe not as much as like something within Spectacular Spider-Man, but, one scenario that is very, very clear is when, he's supposed to go to the party as Spider-Man, but he sees something within the distance and he has to sort of stop whatever that explosion was. And then another time is when his classmates are hanging out by the pool and he wants to hang out with them, but he has to do this Spider-Man thing. So, there's a lot of that going on within this movie, and I love that John Watts was able to implement that because, say what you will, Iron Boy Jr. or whatever, but he knows Spider-Man and he knows the character. So, I was glad that he was able to implement some elements while also, having this character be within the MCU. Then we have Far From Home. Definitely the most sort of stunning movie visually. Like the Mysterio scenes are so good. And Mysterio as a villain, I think Jake Gyllenhaal really sold it as the character. I think that having this version of Mysterio be the way that he is was like a very smart idea. And yeah, I like the movie. I mean, like, it's not perfect by any means, like 100%. There are definitely flaws with it. But, for a continuation of another sort of like Spider-Man movie with John Watson sort of as the sort of coming of age, sort of high school Peter Parker story, this is good. And No Way Home, it's good. No Way Home is so good. We talked about it on our podcast, the Travis and Damien podcast. If you guys want to listen to it on there, we had a full spoiler discussion on that movie because it's kind of hard to talk about that movie without spoilers, but it is good and definitely well worth sort of as the final movie within the Tom Holland trilogy. Next Spider-Man movie we have here is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I have it on Blu-ray and 4K because I rebought on 4K because of PS5. But yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is 100% the best Spider-Man movie by far. If we're talking live action, it's Spider-Man 2 by Sam Raimi. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, this is the perfect Spider-Man story. It literally tells the story that anyone can wear the mask. And because of that, it is so good. And the origin story of Miles Morales and how they introduce the general audience to Miles Morales in this movie, fantastic. Perfect. Literally perfect. And it's weird because they use the Spider-Verse story to do it, but it works. And it is great. It's fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I love this movie so much. I cannot wait to see Across the Spider-Verse because I think that movie is going to be just as good, if not better, hopefully, than this movie because... And yeah, like, because it's animated, it is visually stunning. This movie is goddamn gorgeous. So, yeah. And I think that this is the worst performing Spider-Man movie in the box office, unfortunately, just because it was a cartoon. Which sucks, because this movie is the best Spider-Man movie ever. So, yeah. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't watched it yet, because it's a cartoon, get over it and watch it. Honestly, it is so goddamn good. Last Spider-Man movie, quote-unquote, we have here is Venom. I knew what I was getting myself into when I watched this movie, and yeah, it is just as bad as you think it is. It is clowny, it is goofy. It feels like a early 2000s movie, but you know, that's just Venom. That is just what Venom is now. And I did see Venom 2 in theaters, and that one I knew what I was getting myself into, so I kind of had fun with it. I actually liked that one a little bit more than this one, but. Yeah, you know, it's the origin stories of Venom for this incarnation of the character, and it's kind of interesting. But if you know what you're getting into, and you know that this is like a kind of like mediocre bad movie, I think you'll have a good time with it. All right, last superhero stuff we got here are non-MCU stuff. So I guess I'll talk about this one real quick. Fan Four Stick or Fantastic Four. This is the reboot. This is a bad movie, and I haven't watched it yet, but I definitely will. We bought this at the used Blu-ray store or whatever, used video store. But I haven't watched it yet because I have to mentally prepare myself for this because I know that this movie is terrible. But hopefully the Fantastic Four by John Watts is a lot better. Next one we got here is Deadpool 1 and 2. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I mean, who else would you get to play Deadpool other than Ryan Reynolds? And this is great. This is fantastic, honestly. Both of these movies are kind of similar, but because Deadpool is sort of like the origin story of it, I think that I like it a little bit more. And yeah, it's great. You know, you get to know who Deadpool is and sort of like why, you know, why he is sort of like a ugly, you know, mutant under his mask and everything like that. So yeah, and Ryan Reynolds has a lot of fun playing the character, and you can tell. In the sequel, you know, you got what's his name, Josh Brolin as what's his name? I forget the goddamn character's name. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of funny moments, a lot of references. Yeah, these movies are hilarious, but also full of action and a lot of fun. So that is Deadpool. Last movie here is Logan. This is 100% top 5 comic book movie material right here. This is the last movie with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and he kills it. And because it's rated R, they are able to go all out, and because of that, it really heightens the movie, in my opinion. Because before, you know, he was like PG-13 or whatever, but now, man, there's so much blood, there's so much gore, and it is great, and I love it. This was a movie that I saw in theaters. This was my one of the first times I saw a movie in theaters, because I was just like, I want to see this movie. So I went to my local theater, saw Logan by myself with like maybe 3 other people within that theater, and I walked out of it. I was like, that was amazing. Oh my God, you know? I love Logan. This is a great send-off to Hugh Jackman's character, really respectfully, but at the same time giving us an adventure that is worthwhile. And as you can tell, I don't have any of the X-Men movies. I've watched X-Men Origins Wolverine and like other sort of like clips with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, obviously. But this movie is great. You don't need to know of his journey to get to this point, because this movie itself is that good. So That is my cosign for Logan. Please watch that movie. It is so goddamn good. All right, now we are at the last part of the collection, which is the Blu-rays for anime. So, A Silent Voice, the movie. This is a movie that I saw on Netflix, and I really liked it, so I bought it on Blu-ray. It's pretty much about this girl who isn't mute. I think she might be mute, actually. But she's having a hard time, and then there's this other kid who is also going through a tough time, and he gets bullied, so like he bullies her, and like there's this like dynamic there, and yeah, it's very heartwarming, it's very heartfelt. You get to see them grow up from kids to young adults, if you will, and yeah, it's a very touching, very powerful movie, if you will. Yeah, definitely worth watching. Even if you don't like anime, I think that this is a movie that is worth checking out. I probably didn't sell it that well, but definitely A Silent Voice is 100% a good movie. After the Rain, the complete collection. So, this is a anime about this girl, Tachibana, who falls in love with her manager, but she's 16 and he's 40-something. And they start talking. They start becoming friends, but they aren't dating. He makes it very clear that, like, this shit's weird, 100%. So, like, he's not into it, but, like, she loves him. Like, she, like, absolutely loves him. But there's sort of, like, hidden messages and hidden sort of meaning as to why she likes him so much. And that's a lot more fleshed out and better told within the manga. You might be able to pick it up if you watch this anime adaptation, but the anime definitely rushes through a lot of things. The manga definitely fleshes out like a lot of storylines and adds a couple of other scenarios, so you could see like a lot of the characters sort of interact with each other. But the anime adaptation, it's not that bad. I watched this on Amazon. It might still be available on Amazon, but my best friend Kofi, he bought this for me for my birthday, and yeah, I like After the Rain. It is a very cute sort of romance slice of life series, if you will. I would say romance is kind of loose. Like, there are romance elements, but it's not like, they aren't actually dating. They're just being very friendly with each other. Next movie we got here is Anohana, the Flower We Saw That Day, the movie. So I watched Anohana not Netflix. I watched it on Crunchyroll, and then I learned that there was this movie that sort of is like the prologue, sort of like a follow up. So I loved Anohana. I think that is a series that I knew that I was gonna like. So when I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, like this is pretty good. So I want to see what this movie does, because it does take place 5 years later, but I have no idea what's gonna happen or what it's really about, other than that it takes place 5 years later. So there is that. Next one we got here is Clannad, the complete series. It has both seasons. So yeah, I bought this on Right Stuff because I can't watch Clannad anywhere. I don't think it's available on any streaming platform, but this was on sale, like heavily discounted on Right Stuff. So I was just like, okay, I'll buy it, and then I'll see if I like it. And then if I don't, I could always sell the Blu-ray and get it out of my collection. But Clannad is a series that I've heard a lot of great things about, so I kind of want to check it out. Cowboy Bebop is a series that is very well known within the anime community, and it lives up to the name, honestly. This is a very good shonen series. And yeah, it's pretty much about these space pirates or space cowboys, if you will, and they go on adventures, and every single episode is about a different scenario. Some episodes connect with each other, like certain storylines. There's a bunch of wacky characters, a bunch of wacky scenarios. And it's fun. It's very cool. The animation is fantastic. The music choice, beautiful. Literally everything that you would want from an anime, from the music to the voice acting to the animation, it is all great. The English dub, oh my god, this is a fantastic English dub. Yeah, I just love Cowboy Bebop. Next series we got here is Demon Slayer. So Demon Slayer Part 1 and 2. This is for the full first season. I love Demon Slayer. I've read the entire manga, so I know how it ends, but watching season 1, that's how I got into it, obviously. And yeah, so I got Demon Slayer, the full first season. I still need to go and get the movie on Blu-ray, but I'm currently enjoying season 2 as it's airing. But Demon Slayer is pretty much about this guy named Tanjiro, and he fights demons for certain reasons. And you'll see that very quickly within episode 1. If you don't like Demon Slayer, after episode 1, you can drop it because episode 1 is like the best hook of any sort of anime ever, in my opinion. Like the hook is so goddamn good. And that's why I love Demon Slayer, and I love Tanjiro. I love Nezuko. I love all of the characters and the stories that they go through. I cannot wait to see everything animated, and so far season 2, it's good. So, or should I say the Entertainment District arc is pretty good so far. Next we got here is a whole lot of Dragon Ball. So I have the entire Dragon Ball Z seasons on Blu-ray. I know that like Funimation like sucks at like producing the Dragon Ball seasons on Blu-ray like in its original form. They always like mess with it, whether it's like the coloring or like it's not in 4:3 but 16:9, because I know these are in 16:9, or something else, you know. Like I feel like there's never gonna be a perfect release of Dragon Ball Z, so I'm just like whatever. I'm just gonna buy these and just like deal with it, because like I'm not that much of a elitist when it comes to my anime Blu-ray releases, as long as I can watch it, you know. But a lot of these I got from different stores. So like these two right here, they're kind of messed up. Season 3 and 5 I got on eBay, and I didn't know that they came like that, but I didn't really care. 7 through 9 I got at Best Buy for like a really deep discount. Season 6 I recently just got. I got this on the Funimation website. This one's kind of rare. Like this one's not on Amazon, and I think it's not a lot of listings on eBay. So if you want this, check the Funimation store if it's still available. And then the rest of them I got from my friend Kofi. That was also part of the birthday gift, on top of After the Rain. He got me the rest of the Dragon Ball Z seasons that I needed. So yeah, Dragon Ball Z, it's a series with a lot of action, a lot of Super Saiyans, a lot of yelling. You know, if you know Dragon Ball, you know Dragon Ball, and if you don't, you can always look up some stuff on YouTube to really figure out what it is. We got some more Dragon Ball Z stuff. So we got Dragon Ball Z History of Trunks and Bardock, the father of Goku. I believe these two movies are the only like real canon Dragon Ball Z movies, because most of them are just like filler. But yeah, Trunks, he's a cool character. I love Trunks, and this movie with the history of his backstory really solidified the reason why he is one of if not my favorite Dragon Ball Z character. And then Bardock, you know, Bardock's cool too, and we get to see his origins as the father of Goku and what happened with Planet Vegeta and everything like that. So next ones we got here are Dragon Ball Z / Super movies. So these two movies pretty much are the first two seasons of, or the first chunk of episodes for Dragon Ball Super, but they first released them as Dragon Ball Z movies, and these are a continuation of the Dragon Ball Z story. And yeah, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. This one is definitely a lot more of like Dragon Ball. This one's a lot more of Dragon Ball Z, and if you know what I'm talking about, this one's more action. This one's more of like, you know, funny shenanigans and things like that. But, you know, this one still has action, but this one's definitely a lot more heavy on just like fighting, you know, Goku and Vegeta fighting Frieza. So yeah, but both of them are good movies. I like Resurrection F a little bit more just because it is much more on that action, but Battle of Gods is still an okay Dragon Ball Z movie. Last one we got here is Dragon Ball Super Broly. Definitely the best Dragon Ball Z movie by far. The animation is fantastic. I saw this in theaters, and it looked amazing. Oh my god, you know, seeing these fights with Dragon Ball Z characters is like so much fun. You know, seeing Goku and Vegeta fly across the screen, especially against Broly, one of the most well-known sort of like Dragon Ball Z non-canon characters, and now he's officially within the canon after this movie, is super duper cool, super duper fun. So yeah, there is that. Next ones we got here, we got some more movies and series. So first up we got Ghost in the Shell. I haven't watched this yet, so I don't really have a comment, but I wanted to watch this because when the live action adaptation came out, I heard a lot of bad things about it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the original. So next up we got is Haikyuu seasons 1 through 3, the complete collections. Haikyuu is a volleyball anime, and that's all you really need to know, but it is hype as hell. It is so good. It is so hype as a sports / volleyball anime. And you might be laughing to yourself. You're like, a volleyball anime? How can it be so hype? It is hype as hell. Like, it is so goddamn good. And I think season 3 is literally all one match, I think. I think this is literally just one match. One match of volleyball. And you're probably like, wait, that sounds like it's going to get dragged on for so long. Nah, bro. This season is so hype. And I can say that about pretty much every single season. Every single season has moments that are really, really, really exciting. And Haikyuu is a shonen anime that I love watching every single time new episodes are coming out. So yeah, love Haikyuu. Next ones we got here are the Hunter x Hunter movies. So we got Hunter x Hunter Phantom Rogue and Hunter x Hunter The Last Mission. If you know me, I love Hunter x Hunter. It is my favorite anime by far. So I bought these on Blu-ray because I haven't watched these movies. I know that these are kind of like non-filler, or these are filler slash, non-canon, if you will. So I was just like, okay, so I watched the Phantom Rogue. It's a fun, Hunter x Hunter movie with the Phantom Rogue and sort of like a little side story for these characters. And then the Last Mission, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't watched it yet. I definitely plan on to one of these days. But yeah, I just love Hunter x Hunter. I love Gon. I love Killua. I love Kurapika. I love the world, the characters, everything like that. So yeah, Hunter x Hunter. Next ones we got here, K-On! This is another series that I want to get into, but it's not available on streaming platforms. I think it literally got taken off of Netflix like recently. So yeah, I just bought the Ultimate Collection on Right Stuff because it has everything along with the movie. So literally everything that I need for K-On! Is right here whenever I want to get into it. Megaloblocks. This is another series that I want to get into. It might be on Crunchyroll or Funimation or something like that, but I just decided to buy it on Blu-ray because why not? It was on sale on Right Stuff for like a pretty deep discount, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll just buy it. Next ones we got here is the My Hero movie. So we got My Hero Heroes Rising. That's the second movie. And then My Hero 2 Heroes. My Hero 2 Heroes is actually a pretty good My Hero movie. I think it plays it pretty safe for the movies in terms of like a non-canon sort of thing, which is good. I think that when you play it safe and you don't sort of dive too deep into like the fan service stuff, that's when I like it the most. Heroes Rising, it really does not care and sort of dives into that sort of like fan service stuff, which makes the ending of the movie that much worse because I hate it. I just hate it. I was having a lot of fun watching this movie like when I was watching it in theaters. And then the last act happened and I was like, oh, okay, like it's cool, but like how are they gonna resolve it? And then they resolved it and I was like, I don't like that. So and then the newest movie, it was okay. It's definitely better, or I'm not even sure anymore. I keep watching these My Hero movies, but I'm just like, I'm not exactly sure if I should, But anyways, moving on, we got Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season. This is a slice of life anime about girls going through puberty. And it is so wholesome, and it is so, like, I'm not going to say relatable because I'm a guy, but it is definitely, like, sort of, like, realistic, like, what it's like going through puberty as a teenager. Like, they are trying to discover things about themselves sexually, and it is very funny and very cute and wholesome watching them trying to figure that out. And yeah, this is a great slice of life. And if you haven't watched it yet, definitely check it out. I believe it's on, when it comes to like streaming platforms, I think it's on Verve for High Dive, which is not like, Funimation or Crunchyroll, mind you, but it is on a streaming platform and that's how I watched it. But I got it on Blu-ray because I love it that much. Promare. This is a movie that I hear a lot of great things about just from the animation alone. So one of these days I will pop it in and watch it. Teasing Master Tagaki-san. This is a slice of life anime about Tagaki-san who teases this boy named Nishikata. And this is the entire first season that is available on Crunchyroll / Funimation, I believe. And then season 2 is only on Netflix. And season 3 is coming out very soon, which I'm very excited about. But Teasing Master Tagaki-san is pretty much about these, I think they're like middle schoolers and they're just, going through everyday life. They kind of like each other. They kind of don't, they don't really say it to each other, but it's cute. It's wholesome. I love it. It honestly brings a smile to my face whenever I watch this show or read the manga because it is just that wholesome. Next one we got here is sort of like the same thing. Tsuki ga Kiri, As the Moon So Beautiful. It's a slice of life that is much more on the drama aspect. Teasing Master Tagaki-san is much more on the sort of like slice of life comedy. This one is much more on the drama. I don't think I laughed once while watching the show, but I was definitely like, oh, like that's cute, like that's wholesome. There's definitely a lot more drama within the show, or should I say this anime. And if you want a slice of life that's heavy on the drama, definitely check this out. The animation is pretty good, I would say. There's moments in the show where they use CG for like the background characters, and it is so goddamn jarring, and that's one of the main reasons why it's not a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It's a 9 out of 10. The drama, the sort of romance aspect, it's all super duper good, and you might view it as just like two high schoolers being super duper awkward, but like that's what it is, right? And like it's so cute, it's so wholesome. So really enjoyed watching Tuski Gakuri. Next one we got here is Weathering with You. This is the follow-up film from Your Name, which I will talk about Your Name later, or actually right after this one. But Weathering with You, it sort of feels like Your Name 0.5, kind of like it sort of feels like he's trying to replicate what he did with Your Name, but like again. So it's okay. I don't think that it is that great, but I don't think it's that bad either. I think because it is trying to play so heavily into Your Name's success, this movie kind of suffers for it. It's not really trying to do anything new, but sort of trying to replicate what the old one did. That's just my opinion, though. But still, it's a good film. I think that this is a anime film worth watching. But Your Name, however, I watched this in theaters, and this shit blew my mind. Oh my God. This movie changed my life in a way. Like, when it comes to, like, consuming media. Not, like, literally changed my life, but changed my life when it came to, like, media and, like, romance and all of this other stuff. Because, oh my God, this movie is so good. So, it's pretty much about these two characters. What's it called? Taki and Mizuhara. And they happen to swap each other's bodies on, like, random days. And because of that, they sort of form this bond, and they sort of get closer to each other because of that. And there's twists, there's spiritual stuff, there's a lot of stuff going on within this movie that makes it so goddamn good. It is also beautifully animated. Oh my God, the animation, watching this movie in theaters was such a treat. Like, oh my God, I love watching this movie because every single time I am enjoying myself when I watch this movie. So, all right, guys, last Blu-ray we got is Yu Yu Hakusho, the entire series. I have seasons 1 through 4 right here. So, as you guys know, like I said earlier, I love Hunter x Hunter. So I wanted to see the previous series that the mangaka did, which was Yu Yu Hakusho. And I hear that a lot of great things about Yu Yu Hakusho, and they're all true. This is a fantastic shonen. It is one of the older shonens that I feel gets slept on, and it is so good. The way that Yusuke as a MC, he is amazing. Oh my God, like he is one of the most likable MCs ever. And it's literally because he's so cool. Like, no cap, like he is one of the coolest main characters in shonen history of all time, honestly. And because Yusuke is so likable, the characters that surround him, like Kurabara, Hiei, and I forget his name, I'm so sorry. But every other character really shines because of Yusuke's sort of like, you know, not caring attitude. And yeah, like Yu Yu Hakusho is just so good. It has one of the best tournament arcs in anime history. No cap. Like, Yu Yu Hakusho is so good. It does fall off a little bit at the end, but I can honestly pass that because of how it starts and how the sort of tournament arc ends. Like, everything about Yu Yu Hakusho is just so good. So, yeah. So that is my entire Blu-ray collection. If you stuck around for this entire video, holy moly, you are insane. Thank you for watching. If you guys have not already, you can subscribe and put new videos up on Saturdays. You can follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Try to put updates to my future videos. Check out my podcast, the Travis Name Podcast. Talk about games, movies, and anime every other week. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video once again. See you guys next time with more videos.